It's on a shorty new year, shorty new year. Come along to Camp Shorty, we're so glad you're here. Camp Shorty is where you will find family. Our mod Avengers will greet you with glee. At Camp Shorty, you can shine and shine bright, because the Shorty Camp leader is a fucking delight.
Hey Shorties, welcome. Fast and the Furious intro. How are we all tonight? Hi Poppy, Poppy's here. Of course she is. Poppy's here to say, hello mama, now I want your attention. Who's here? I see some familiar names. Hey Kraken, good to see you. Steph, girl. Steph saying hello to Holly. Hi Holly. Hello to Kevin. Hi Kevin from Ireland. Moon Bunny's here. Holly's here. Did I say that already? Ducking, good to see you. Hi, Poppy. Jersey Jen. Jen, what's up? My brain, my eyes. My brain and my eyes. Hey, Taryn. Oh, my goodness. Guys, Buster's here. If you're a member, there are Buster and Poppy emotes in the chat. Yikes. Hey, Bussy, my big sookie lookie. He's such a sweet boy. He started doing this thing now where when I'm cutting up, because I feed them fresh meat, like fresh lamb chops and bones. They cost me a bloody fortune. And while I'm cut, because Poppy has the bones, because Buster can't be trusted with unless they're big bones, because he just swallows them, and that's not good for anyone. And now while I'm cutting up the smaller pieces of meat for him, he these idiots, guys, he nudges his nose into my leg like, hurry up, mum, sweet boy. Okay, thanks, guys, I love you. Can you go and sit on your beds now, please? I'm a professional. Who else is here? Holly says feral in 3, 2. Yes, lift off. Hey James, good to see you. Amber's here, amazing. Anya, Lady Di, Patricia Vincent, good evening, my friend. Martha Ivy, hi. Charlie's here, statistician extraordinaire. Sir, ma'am. Sammy's here. Yes, I know. It was literally 3 minutes before I was going live, and if you know me at all, time is not my friend. And yikes! Sorry, I had to let that one go through. Poppy, okay. I love you. Where's your toys? Go and get a toy. Hi guys, I guess we're feeling a bit snuggly today. I can't do my mouse when you're doing that. I'm a professional. Luna's here. Luna Noxumbra from Sweden. Luna, welcome. We are worldwide. Julie, hi. I'm a baffled. Yeah, same. Permanent state. Hey, Nina, good to see you. Long time no see, friend. Motion to scream. What the fuck? Granted. Thanks. KKK. Oh my goodness, I'm so far behind on chat. Hi, Thomas McCarthy. Prince Lover's here on her other device. Girl, I need you in blue. Jersey Jen, I said hello already. Yes. Meg P, hi, good to see you. You know what? Motion for YouTube to change their members' color to something other than green on the black screen. Lordy Dordy, I caramba. Okay. Have I got it? Ruthie's here. Amazing. Hi, Ruthie. Karen Witt. Yes. Oh my goodness, I made it to the bottom. Candy, hi. Hello. So thank you all for being here. Hi, lurkers. Hi, replay crew. Chat is Bay. So if you're lurking for whatever reason, that's cool. Don't feel shy. Come on into the chat. We normally have subscribers only mode on, but I don't think we do today. So come on in. You don't even have to subscribe. But if you're working or gardening or cooking or walking the puppers like Ruthie often does, and you're just listening, that's cool too. If you are on replay crew and you'd like to watch the live chat replay, if you're on a handheld device like a mobile, like an iPhone, a mobile device, all you need to do is, excuse me, thank you, ma'am, replay crew. All you need to do is you go onto the comment section of the video. You don't go into it. You just go onto and just swipe left. I don't know, left. This is left for me, but I don't think. Anyway, swipe left and it'll give you the option for live chat replay instead. Amazing. Thank you so much. I saw Bonita. Wait. Bonita? Hi. So what are we doing today? I mean, that's a perpetual question for me. Clara, hi, good to see you. What are we doing? Heather Taylor, the true shorty. The true shorty. We had a bit of a shorty off last night in our live stream, and I think Laura H, I think, might have won it, but Heather, you weren't in chat. So Heather wins the Shorty McShort prize. Jeff Harris, hi. Lynn Neese, hi. Hello, hello. Did I say hello to Moon Bunny? I'm not sure. NH Dude, greetings from New Hampshire. New Hampshire, my pleasure. Gifted memberships have been flying lately. We drew the raffle. I've put the Poppy, come on now. I've put the raffle away, and as in I put the bowl with all the names in it. Not rigged. Chat can attest. Scooping around in all the names, and Steph bloody blah 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 won the cool shades, the jar of Vegemite, and all the goodies from Australia. Thank you, Jersey Jen. Thank you so much. Gifting out one membership. That's really kind of you. Welcome, you shorty. And I'm going to do a raffle every once a month. Australiana shit. Catherine W from Arizona requested that well, she didn't request. She said she collects spoons and she doesn't have any spoons from Australia, so I'm going to buy a spoon from a like an Australiana touristy shop, and yeah, Vegemite, and we're gonna have matching cool sunnies, man, around the world. We're so cute. So I do that every month. The last few days of every month, I'll raffle off some Australian shit, not literal shit, but stuff. Danny, yes, I did see that. Sorry, I've been inundated lately with many things. I will reply. The twins are getting so big. Oh, Jesus fuck. They're not, but thanks. I think who's got the creeper comment thing ready to go? Oh, Jesus. Jesus fuck. Ranger Joe. Daisy. Love you, girl. Nauseous, but here. I hope the sound of my voice doesn't nauseate you further. But anyway, hi, Ange. Good to see you. There she is. There she is in blue. Sweet. Please don't creep on me, shorty. I mean, I'm asking for it, but this is the only top that I have left clean. So I'll pull my microphone in front of the twins, right? We're here to build community, share experiences, and support each other, and feel comfortable in this space. Super creepers, be warned, right? And also, now's not the time. Eric, thank you. I love that kind of creep. Wonder Woman, thank you. If anyone, who? Ambulance driver. Hi. Thank you for your email with the Metallica clip. Love. All right. What are we doing, Lord? We are going back to the very beginning. Let's wind it back. Karen Reid, motions, pre-trial motions hearings. I've watched them, but it's been a minute, so I haven't rewatched. Yeah, right. Hey, wait, pause for a second. If you've been on the Twitter today, what a beautiful change of vibe in the thread that's been running rampant today was all about women empowering women, people who have been, or accounts that have maybe been not my biggest fan of late, and for whatever reason, that's cool. I don't mind. But we kind of we just joined together in being hilariously kind of like being our own creepers, and maybe there'll be a, what is it? Clown Town Queens of Canton. Not that I'm in Canton, but some sort of fundraising calendar. So yep. P.S. I bags July. Miss Shorty, I've discovered your channel recently and love it. Ignore the nasty haters and whiners and gossipers desperate for attention. Whew, it's hard. Trying. Dear Bev, sucks to suck. Yes. So tonight is Beverly Cannone. We need to talk. For the last forever. Every week we've been covering, going over previous testimonies from people like Chris Albert, Jennifer McCabe, who did we do last? Oh, Trooper Proctor. I've already blacked out. Canton Clouters. See it, Kraken. I see you. Catherine just was speaking about your spoons. Spoon. Haven't forgotten, girl. I'll get you on. Miss Shorty, hope your mods chat all had a great Christmas from the UK. Well, yes. It was just Christmas? Yeah, I've still got my Christmas tree up. I'll just slide it out of the way. All right, Bev grates on my one last nerve. She should be off this case all one-sided. Amen. Here. What are you talking about? He hates Bev too. We all do. So, sigh. I'll allow it. It's kind of important though, right? Because we all know the stuff from the trial. And I know lots of people, I mean, I have snippets of recollection from the pre-trial motion stuff. Like we know the stuff about, Bev's house on the Cape and Juliana Nagel with the, all that stuff. Shall we go and refresh our memories? Because testimonies, we've got plenty more testimonies to go, but it was a request from some shorties. Hey, 149 of you watching right now, welcome. Don't forget to hit that like or the thumbs down. It's all the same. It's all engagement. Love you for being here. Thank you. Okay, what do we got? I feel like it's this one. Wait, what's this one? Let me just check. No, it's the other one. See, lucky I checked. Oh my goodness. Goodness me. I'm such a professional. It's like, it's the first time I've shared a screen. This isn't the one I wanted to do. Fuck. Jesus, fuck, chat. This one. So I don't think this one's, they're both about an hour and a bit long. We'll do 2 today. We'll do this in parts. Hopefully we'll wrap it up before Dr. Turtleboy goes live, because it's Saturday, right, where you are? I have no idea what day it is. Is it? Yes, it is. Of course it is. I mean, that burst my eardrums out, so I hope yours are okay. Sorry, kids. Dave's channel's here. Amazing. How good was that cheer? I love Karen Reed. Amazing. Free Karen Reed. Bravo. Yes. Esti's here. Hi, Esti. Girl, give me a run for the money. Is it this one? Yes. Esti, amazing. If you know, you know. You gave me a run for my money in that calendar thing. We've got to do that. We've got to do the calendar. So funny. Lol. Like, it can't be a current photo of me unless well, an old photo. Absolutely. I have thousands. Hey, you guys. Who's needs a back? Thanks. Thanks, babe. Karen always rocking it. Hi, Michelle. Good to see you, my friend. Petty. Love your display picture. Yeah, free can read. That's loud in my ears today. Is it especially loud for you guys? Let me know if it's too loud or if I'm too loud. Wait, I don't want to burst your eardrums out. Hi, Lynn. It was funny. What a great day. It was so much fun. So much better than the toxicity that's been going on Twitter for the last, eternity. Hi, Lois. Good to see you. Ms. Holmes, hi. Everyone's saying hi. Beautiful, warm welcomes. Thank you for being here. So, wait, pause. God, I hope they fix the background noise. That might drive me more insane than I already am. This is a year ago. It's one of the very first ones. What's the name of this one? Let me just double check. Wait, is it? Yeah, no, wait, that one. The yikes. Attorneys argue over evidence in court. I mean, well, obviously. I think the next one is where they talk about the significant relationships. So the next one we're going to watch is where, all the hectic shit. That. Of course, Buster wants to go out. BRB. Hi, Lulu. Good to see you. You want to go out, Bussy? BRB chat. Buster and Poppy emotes in the chat. I'm going to chuck some in. Yes, 2025. I'm so excited. So pumped. Let's fucking go 2025. Hi. 2025 is our year. It's Karen's year. It's the year. It's a good number. Love. Hey, Fuba. Good to see you, darling. How's it going down there in Tassie? Welcome, Free Radical. Amazing. Thank you. And
let's get ready to rumble.
I even took it off the loop. Amazing. Where's Bev? She's having a claw. Clerk Jim. Hey, how you going? Well, here we go. Sounds like shit's about to get going. I hope. We're so poised and ready, right? Oh my God, all my vapes have run out. I have to go and get new vapes. I'm dying. It's hell in a teacup with no vape. Jessica Hyde moved to return to Staten. Well, thank you, Michael. Hello, my friend from down under. Congrats and thanks for spreading the truth. I'm in a Norfolk County. I know the meatball. Yikes, Michael. Are you okay? Does he like meatballs? Is that truth? Hi, Amanda from Detroit. Good to see you. I know. Heather says Jim just topped off her drink, so she's slamming it in the back before hopping into the ring. Hang on, I'll skip forward a bit. This background noise is killing my life. Jesus fuck chat. Oh my God. Bev. Oh, there's a drink. Mojito.
2 minutes, so we can let everybody go.
2 minutes. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jim. Wait. Okay. Oh my God, Bev. What are you doing? She's doing up her shoes. Oh my God. Oh.
All persons having business before the Honorable Beverly Cannone, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, in the County of Norfolk. Give your attendance.
Let's get ready to rumble.
This is 22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves, starting with the Commonwealth?
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Your Honor, Alan Jackson on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney David Yannetti on behalf of Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Little. Good morning, Ms. Reed. All right.
Could I just have Mr. Reddington, could you identify yourself for the record?
The sound is wild.
Sure. Kevin Reddington, I represent Jennifer McCabe.
Good morning, Mr. Reddington. I appreciate you joining us today. I know that you're out of the country. Thank you. All right. So we have 4 sets of motions. The first one that I would like to address.
Is that my friend Joseph? Hi, Joseph. Good to see you.
What was that, Jim?
I don't know.
Tommy.
I think it was somebody on Zoom.
Nobody can speak, so it only could have been maybe. I think we're all set.
All right.
Who's sniffing? Who the
first
fuck is
motion
sniffing?
I'd
It's
like
not
to
me.
deal with is the defendant's motion for Rule 17 records directed to Jennifer McCabe, Trooper Michael Proctor, and Elizabeth Proctor. Who's arguing that for the defense? All right, I'll hear you, Mr. Jackson.
A link.
My
That's
boy
dangerous.
Bailey in the trap.
For you,
Kevin, can you
Tommy.
just be either mute or watch us?
Yeah, mute,
Jim,
Mr.
that's not
Reddington.
me. If somebody else is saying, free my boy Billy Tibbetts. That's not me.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Reddington.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Kevin, that was you. Good morning, Your Honor, and thank you for giving us the time to address the court on these summonses for the third-party communications.
messenger, Tommy.
I think I can cut this relatively short, given the Commonwealth's position that they are in agreement that the summonses for these third-party communications should issue. I want to save some court time.
Billy's innocent.
All right, so we may have to cancel Zoom for everybody if this keeps up. We will have to cancel Zoom for everybody if this keeps up.
I think I got that person, but
Fuck off, Beverly.
maybe I didn't.
I love it.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
I'd
Thank
heard
you,
it, but
Honor.
I'd never
I
heard
want to
it.
try to save some court time
Stand,
and judicial
Tommy.
resources. If the court is inclined, given the Commonwealth's position that they're in agreement with us to issue the summonses, I'll just submit on the papers and be done.
I have third parties that need to be heard.
If the court wishes, I'm happy to address the third-party concerns once they are heard.
No, I'll hear you now.
In terms of the papers that were filed, and my understanding is Mr. Reddington joined on Ms. McCabe's behalf.
I sent the link, Tommy.
with
It's in there.
Elizabeth
If you know, you know one.
Motion in her position filed by her counsel. It basically comes down to a singular issue, and that is one of privacy. They don't have standing to argue Lampron. They're not parties to this action. It appears the Commonwealth, who is the party to the action, has agreed that Lampron, the elements of Lampron have been met with our request insofar as it is concerned, specifically and addressed to Michael Proctor, Trooper Michael Proctor, and his communications with Jennifer McCabe, Elizabeth Proctor's communications with Jennifer McCabe, Jennifer McCabe's communications, counter communications with Elizabeth Proctor, and Michael Proctor's communications with Brian Albert and Nicole Albert. I'll address the issues that counsel raised in his moving papers on behalf of Elizabeth Proctor, because that's the only writing that I have to go on at this point. He basically argued that there are false statements made about Michael Proctor's relationship with some of these other parties. Since the very beginning, and that brings up the fundamental issue, Your Honor, of what is that relationship and what's the nature of the relationship, and why do we believe that relationship establishes extrinsic evidence of bias and an inability to be neutral. From the very beginning of this case, we have questioned the neutrality and the bias of Michael Proctor and certain other government witnesses based on overwhelming facts that we've learned, overwhelming facts that established that both this investigator and this investigation are compromised. That's why we...
Do you have that, Tori? Okay.
Thank you, Amber. I'm just letting you all know, chat, and Shorties new and old. If you are unsure, here in Camp Shorty, you can absolutely let your all caps be free. Doesn't distract me, doesn't piss me off, doesn't make me feel like you are demanding attention or yelling. It's just, if you want to, you can. Just make sure that you turn off your caps lock when you leave the chat, and don't take those caps anywhere else, because you will be shut down in flames. It's the bane of most moderators in most channels' existence, and for many creators also. But for me, love, 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 and also free Billy Tibbetts.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. That's why we've asked for the communication.
Also, cuss words allowed. Swear away. Don't mind.
Our request is nothing short of critical to our defense, obviously, and it's based on Ms. Reed's constitutional right, as established in Davis versus Alaska, the U.S. Supreme Court constitutional right that's recognized as the right to attack the credibility of any government witness, be they a government witness on behalf of the police and the investigation, or any other government witness.
Is Elizabeth Proctor a government witness?
She is not, but Jennifer McCabe is.
Oh my God.
And the communications that we're interested in are
Same.
the communications that are concomitant between Elizabeth Proctor and Jennifer McCabe. We've established that there is a close personal relationship between and among Michael Proctor and obviously Elizabeth Proctor and these third-party culprits that have been implicated in this case that we've brought to the court's attention, the Alberts and the McCabes.
Just slow it back down. Jackson
That's
speaks
the relationship, and that's the foundation of our request. This is so important that I'll bring it back to the court's attention, and the court knows this, that even the sitting DA, the elected DA, decided to weigh in on this issue of the relationship between the Proctors and the McCabes and or the Alberts. And he said there's no such relationship, zero. This doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, the word that he used was, it's a lie. Any suggestion to the contrary that there's any kind of relationship between the Proctors and the McCabes or the Proctors and the Alberts is a lie. His words. So the DA himself has put Trooper Proctor's neutrality at issue, And he did it in the most public way possible, and I would suggest a clumsy way. Who was he talking to? He didn't come into this courthouse and address the court, as we've all done. He didn't address the court. He didn't address the Commonwealth. He is the Commonwealth. He didn't address us, the defense. What he did do is he addressed the public and the potential jurors, and that was by design. So he calls the evidence that we've procured and that we've presented to the court as lies. Well, let's look at those lies for a quick second. We have presented the court with photographic evidence, not something that we came up with, something they came up with. Photographs in Exhibit C in our moving papers. And I'll just
Wait, there's so many moving parts at the moment. I have someone backstage. Are you there? Whoever it is, whoever mystery from the CPU team. I know I've seen you now. So when you come back to the camera, I'll bring you up. Shorty approve. Bev says, see you next Tuesday. Man, are you a member? Wait. Yes, there's a cunt emoji. Go for it. There's no problems with the swearing. No problems. No, we'll keep going with this until I see someone actually backstage. But there is someone there, a mystery guest. I'm so excited.
I'll just cover a couple of those. There's a photograph that we presented that shows Trooper Proctor's mother, the person by the name of Colin Albert, pictured in the photograph. With
Colin was in the house.
Sister pictured in the photograph. With Chris Albert pictured in the photograph, and with Jennifer McCabe's own daughter.
He just wondered what typo he had there. Hey, pausing because I see someone backstage.
Here we go.
No, wait. We're going to put you on the screen properly. Oh my goodness, someone or someone's. Let me just stop screen. Hi, you guys. Wait, where have they gone? Oh my God, they just dipped. Who the hell is Billy Tibbetts? It's a whole thing. Mandy. Oh, hi, Mandy. Good to see you. Mandy started the whole all caps revolution, and I love it. Right, wait. How many just stops presenting this? Stop this for a sec, and then.
It's for me for now.
And then, hi. Friends.
Lisa, you should be here with us.
Well, I am here now. What are you all wild ones doing? You've had a good night?
Oh, they're having a ball here. The freaking party. Right, say hi to Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
No.
Good. All right. You're a beautiful woman.
Thanks.
Bye. Lisa, bye.
Oh my God. Calm down. Like, oh, that looks comfortable. We're all giving you the love. We love you, Lisa.
Thank you, family.
Get up here. Sing the tatas.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys. Bye. Oh my God. Hi. They're wild ones. There you go, chat. Special guests. Okay, let's keep going. I love them. I love my CPU family so much. Okay, what do we got? Share screen. Can I do this? Yes. Is it this? Yes. Okay, back to regular programming, everybody. Funny kids. Okay, I'm going to press play. Okay, press play. We're professionals here, right?
Depicted in the photograph. They're all together at a birthday party. These are close and immediate family members of the Proctor family, the Albert family, and the McCabe family, and they're all together and they're socializing. That's not a lie. It's a photograph. And it's unassailable evidence of that relationship. There's a second photograph of Trooper Proctor and Colin Albert in a wedding party together. And I would urge the court to note, they're not at a wedding together. They're in a wedding together, in the wedding party. There's a third photograph.
And
Trooper
when was
Proctor-
that? When was
Sorry?
that? When was that?
2012. So this relationship, as the court just noted, and I was about to get to in a second, is not just days old, months old, weeks old. This relationship is decades old between these families. There's another photograph that the court has seen, Trooper Proctor literally on the dance floor with Colin Albert. So when counsel for Elizabeth Proctor suggests, oh no, these relationships, you can't believe any of this stuff, just because someone happens to be at the same event does not.
Tommy's still there, so the horde seem to have left. I wonder if he wants to say Tommy is in his element. I'm just going to get to the bottom of the chat. Freaking magical. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. It was beautiful. Tommy's still there. Dare I? Can we do it? Mayhem. Hang on, wait. Stop screen. We've got to.
Live.
Hi, Tommy again. Hi, Tommy again.
Yeah.
Hi, Tommy again. Hi, Tommy again.
Yeah, I get that.
Hi.
It's using you steps.
I sprung it on them like they sprung it on me. Okay. Regular programming. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Imagine if we got them in a full hot mic moment. What are they doing? Wild ones. They've been going for hours. Okay. We can do this, chat. We are professionals. So professional. Like I'm as professional as I can possibly be. And it's the bar is very high and I'm not reaching it. Okay, start. Play. Okay, focus. Chat. Focus.
Not thereby establish a relationship. They weren't just at the same event. They're in a wedding party together. They're standing on the dance floor, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, Trooper Proctor and Colin Albert. And then we see a photograph of all of them seated at the same dining room table. They shared a meal together. This is socializing. These are interpersonal relationships, and they can't change that. Trooper Proctor was seated at the same table, having dinner with Colin Albert, Chris Albert, and Chris Albert's wife, Julie.
Hi, Lynn.
Then there's the Facebook post, and I will leave it at this. I'm not going to go through the entirety of my motion, but I would highlight the last point that I think should be highlighted for the court's attention, and that's the Facebook post. Trooper Proctor's mother refers to the Albert family as the Proctor's second family. So one might actually ask Mr. Morrissey, who's actually lying in this case? Is it us? We just presented the court with factual information that was procured off of social media that it's unassailable. It cannot be assailed.
Unassailable.
And the Proctors have known these people for, as the court just mentioned, by asking for that date, for more than a decade. They've socialized with him, and his family considers their family to be so close and interconnected that they are deemed a second family to the Proctors. And who exactly are members of this Albert family and or McCabe family? Let's look at those members. Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, who is Jennifer McCabe's sister, Brian Albert Jr., Brian and Nicole's son, Caitlin Albert, Brian and Nicole's daughter, Jennifer McCabe, Nicole Albert's sister, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert's brother-in-law, Chris Albert, Brian Albert's brother, Julie Albert, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, and Colin Albert, Chris and Julie Albert's son.
Colin was in the house. That's a list when you put it like that, isn't it, chat? Wow. Thank you, Laura B, for the coffees. It's really kind of you. You are fucking fab. Well, thank you. I'm just me, but thank you, darling. That's really kind.
The McCabes and Alberts ostensibly are one family. They socialize within the same social circle and the same familial circle, and that is who the Proctors have proclaimed to be their second family. And if that weren't enough, we find out during the pendency of this case on September 25th, 2023, that one of those family members, Jennifer McCabe, who's the subject of great interest in this case and a primary person of interest in this case, is invited to Trooper Proctor's personal home for some sort of off-the-books meeting. Do we know about this meeting? Because Trooper Proctor, upon learning this, that Jennifer...
Mandy Jo, could you please, if it's shareable, would you be able to drop that chart in the Discord in one of the Free Karen Reid and Justice for Officer John O'Keefe channels, please? That would be awesome to see it plotted out. I know some people have made some charts, but you're more than some people, Mandy Jo. You're Mandy motherfucking Joe. So that would be amazing. Mwah.
Jennifer McCabe was coming to his house, ran back to the office and filed a police report, a supplemental report explaining this meeting, this off-the-books meeting. No, he never disclosed it. We found out about this because a concerned citizen happened to photograph Jennifer McCabe's car parked outside Michael and Elizabeth Proctor's personal residence in the evening after hours. And the best that counsel for Elizabeth Proctor can muster in terms of an argument is to...
Never any judgment, Mandy. It's a judgment-free zone in the Shorty Discord and the Shorty chat. So long as everybody's kind and respectful, we don't pass any judgment. right? Never on Mandy Joe. You are the one who said our all caps free, friend.
Say, well, you know what, Your Honor, maybe he wasn't home. Maybe. Or maybe not. The suspicious part is Trooper Proctor isn't saying. And there's nothing in Elizabeth Proctor's motion to suggest that he wasn't home. Certainly his car was there. Elizabeth Proctor's car was there, and Jennifer McCabe's car was there. Was Trooper Proctor home? I guess I would answer that by asking the question, does it matter if Trooper Proctor was home? They've now admitted that Jennifer McCabe, a central character in the middle of this investigation, in the middle of this crime, was secretly meeting and or socializing with the lead investigator and or his wife in the living room of their home. And that, Your Honor, is a problem. And it shows more than a professional connection. It shows a personal connection. And according to the Proctor family's own counsel, Elizabeth Proctor's counsel, the subject matter of that meeting was commiserating about this case. They weren't talking about sports. They weren't talking about the weather. They were meeting about this case. So how does that not show a bias, and how does that not implicate Karen Reed's constitutional rights to this information? And to this day, the Commonwealth has yet to concede what obviously is now sort of front page news, that there is in fact a personal relationship between the Proctors and their second family, the Albert McCabe family. But here's what the Commonwealth has said, even though they haven't made that connection or that
good point. Boston MA says, what if Allie McCabe brought up finding the stray dog on the stand so that if they get access to her phone records and the records reveal a convo with Jen about picking up the dog, aka Chloe, abso-fucking-lutely, it was sus at the time. Yes, bingo, nailed it.
Concession. On October 3rd, 2022, Mr. Lally made a couple of points, eloquent points in this courtroom. And what he was doing when he did it in October was illustrating what an inappropriate relationship would look like if one existed, what a conflict of interest would look like if one existed. And he said, quote, Michael Proctor has been fully vetted, end quote. He said, there's no conflict of interest here because it's not like, quote, these people are socializing together, end quote. He said, it's not like, quote, these people know each other, end quote.
Pause again. Yes, because like it seemed random at the time in her testimony. It seemed very much like, you know how like murder suspects, when they're speaking to the police and just lying like liars, they often add in extra details to make their lies seem more believable, right? And often lies contain kernels of truth, whether it's that did happen but with another person, or that did happen but at another time, or in an absolutely yes. What is the utility of the lie? Well,
And he went on to say, it's not like, quote, these are people that Trooper Proctor has been over to their home, end quote. The Commonwealth said that because these facts would surely illustrate a conflict of interest. They would surely illustrate an undeniable bias. And those comments, Your Honor, I would suggest have not aged well. And I would wonder at this point if the Commonwealth hasn't adjusted its stance, which is why the Commonwealth is now conceding that we're entitled to these communications. And that turns on the question of asking, how could Trooper Proctor be expected to adequately and honestly investigate this case as the lead investigator, and also investigate the Albert McCabe involvement in this case, with this history of an interpersonal relationship and allegiance to those very people, the very third-party culprits, the very people who should be suspects in John O'Keefe's murder? And the answer is he cannot. And since the authorities, including Michael Morrissey, apparently have vouched for Trooper Proctor, my client, our client, Ms. Reed, is entitled to question and to test that voucher. And that's what we're seeking to do with the communications between Elizabeth Proctor and Jennifer McCabe.
Pausing just to say thanks, Steph, for sharing Karen's defense fund details. If you've made a donation to Karen's defense fund recently, or you would like to, or you're planning to, and or if you'd like one of these free Karen Reed stickers, there's about 100 left, a few less now. Limited edition, designed by me. It could be that it's the notoriety of a Miss Shorty sticker rather than the excitement of it these days. For whatever reason. If you make a donation to Karen's Defense Fund of $10 or more, you can get one of these stickers. All you need to do is screenshot your receipt, send me a copy via email or DM in any of the socials, and let me know your preferred contact name and your postal address, and I'll have either, if it's in Australia, I'll send you out one, and if it's in the States, I have 11 helpers locked and loaded with thank you cards, stickers, and envelopes ready to post out that day. So get on it, because good cause, obviously. You get something for your donation, not that you need that, and hey, maybe my infamy makes it worthwhile. You'll get a signed Miss Shorty thank you card.
And insofar as that request is concerned, it's unquestionable that there are
Hi, Olivia. Good to see you.
privacy interests at play, but I would suggest the following: that the constitutional due process rights of any criminal defendant in any criminal case hold a paramount significance because they form the very backbone of the justice system.
Yes, little old lady in Texas. No, Sherry, this was about a year ago. I'm sure someone can pull the date up. There'll be someone with all the factoids. This was one of the very first pretrial motions hearings that I'm aware of. So yes, about a year ago, according to the YouTube timing details
that this court presides over, and protecting those rights, such as the right to a fair trial, such as Ms. Reed's right to the presumption of innocence, that ensures an equitable trial and an equitable process. And while privacy rights of Elizabeth Proctor, a third-party witness, are obviously an element of concern and consideration for the court, they must yield to the imperative of a fair trial. And that imperative means Ms. Reed's ability to confront and properly cross-examine all witnesses, including Jennifer McCabe, including attacking the credibility of government witnesses, including Jennifer McCabe.
Kraken, I'm pretty sure that's in the next pre-trial motions hearing. It talks about what is it called? Significant relationships. So I think that will be in that one. That one is probably most likely the Bev connection. Also the big poster board that Liza Little holds up with the text messages about Auntie Bev.
Based on bias,
or whatever it is.
And that is fundamental to our justice system. So striking this balance ultimately upholds the integrity of the very system that this court is making sure exists and continues throughout the process of this trial. Elizabeth Proctor's privacy rights, while they exist, especially in light of the narrow focus of our request, are vastly outweighed by our client's right to a fair trial. And with that, Your Honor, I'll submit.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lally, are we going to hear first from counsel for Ms. Proctor, counsel for Ms. McCabe? I got an appearance this morning of counsel for the troopers as well. Counsel for the troopers going to address us?
No, Your Honor, that's in
Okay.
reference to another motion.
Okay, so I will hear counsel for Ms. Proctor.
Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Thanks, Melissa.
Kettlewell
Replay
for
crew is
Elizabeth
Bay.
Proctor.
Good morning, Mr. Kettlewell.
So this is not a balancing test between the defendant's right to a fair trial, which is obviously constitutionally protected and paramount to our system, and Elizabeth Proctor's privacy rights. This is a request to bring evidence before this court for the purpose of trial under the mechanism of Rule 17 that is not within the framework of Rule 17. And I'm sure the court has had the opportunity to review our papers. Our sole basis of an objection is not Ms. Proctor's privacy rights. That is obviously paramount concern to any third party, and the interest in not being harassed or brought into a criminal matter or a civil matter that that individual has no involvement in is obviously of interest to anyone. But as it relates to the standard here, the question is whether the defendant's request satisfies the 4 prongs of Lampron and the basis of Rule 17. And the defendant's request, I would submit to the court, fails on 3 of those 4.
So there you go. 1 year ago, says Olivia Null. Of course, Olivia knows. This motions hearing was from 5th of January this year. So almost 1 year ago today. But I said last year because 1 year feels like it would have been last year, but a year ago. Thanks, Olivia. This is where the Commonwealth was trying to keep their letters sealed that they sent to the feds, fishing for info on their investigation. Thank you so much, Olivia. You are an encyclopedic wealth of knowledge, and I really appreciate you being here.
4 prongs.
All of you being here.
And I'm not going to belabor the facts underlying this whole situation. My brother laid out his case. That is laid out quite clearly in his affidavit as well. What I would say about the facts is, with regard to the first prong of admissibility and relevance, while hearsay that is reliable is certainly sufficient as a basis for a subpoena to issue, hearsay which is not a basis for a subpoena to issue. And in this case, my brother's affidavit essentially amounts to a large collection of conjecture and allegations which are not supported. With regard to the motion and the opposition that I filed, I appended an affidavit that lays out the basis for why I assert what I assert in my affidavit. And that's essentially conversations with individuals who have personal knowledge of where Michael Proctor was on the night of September 25th, 2023, individuals who have personal knowledge of the connections between, as my brother says, these 2 families, and who have personal knowledge relating to the actual photograph that my brother didn't mention in Exhibit C of his affidavit of Michael Proctor with 2 children who are still minors, who are not children of Jennifer McCabe. Essentially, the relationship between these 2, quote, families is a distant connection that involves 5 separate steps of relationships between, I guess I'll call them relatives. Mr. Proctor's sister has a friend whose sister is married into the Albert family. And that's Chris Albert, not Brian Albert. And so what brought these different families to a wedding in...
Mandy, it's hard to know sometimes when you're being serious or not. Actually 37, because he looks 57 now, poor old Lally. I mean, not poor old Lally. Poor old Lally, not. Lally, is he really 37? No. Don't smoke cigarettes, kids. Lally tells you why. And don't frame innocent women for murder. But otherwise, carry on.
In 2012 was the fact that Mr. Proctor's sister, or Elizabeth Proctor's sister-in-law, was getting married, had her friend at her wedding, and her friend's sister and her family also wound up attending that wedding.
Nah, man. No, Jennifer.
Fact that
Jennifer, nobody thinks Karen is guilty except maybe you, because that's a wild thing to put into this chat. Good luck to you, love.
Colin Albert and Michael Proctor were in the same wedding party, I think is mitigated somewhat by the fact that Colin Albert was about 10 years old at the time and served as a ring bearer because he was a child. So the connections that my brother tries to lay out in his affidavit, I would suggest are not what that affidavit makes it seem. Regardless of all of that, there's still issues on admissibility and relevance under the first prong of Lampron. And the reason for that is...
No, this isn't Lally. This is Lizzie Proctor's... Lizzie? Yes, or Courtney Proctor's. Wait, my brain. This is not Lally. We'll never unhear Lally's voice.
The defense actually includes a description of this September 25th meeting between Elizabeth Proctor and Jennifer McCabe and why that meeting occurred in a state police report that it actually appends to its motion. And whether or not a court down the road agrees that that area of testimony is valid grounds for exploration for impeachment of Ms. McCabe, what's occurring here is that the defense is attempting to use that as a basis to go get another layer of even more extrinsic evidence on the hope that something that's in the phone of an unrelated third party might impeach Ms. McCabe in an area that is already potentially a grounds of extrinsic evidence for impeachment. And that is not what is permitted under
Lol,
Rule
Jennifer,
17.
lol.
That
Good
is
try.
a hope, that is a conjecture, and that is not the purpose of the rule. And I'm not going to belabor the point for the court because I know the court is very familiar with Rule 17, but the purpose of the rule is to bring into the court for inspection and for purposes of trial records which are going to be admitted or are likely to be admitted at trial. It is not for discovery. It is not for exploration. Whether or
In Massachusetts, they call them my brother and my sister. In other states, they say, like they can also say my learned colleague. But yeah, my brother is a sign of respect, like saying Your Honor, my brother, my sister, bro.
whether or not that exploration the defense believes is part of its case or not, it's a question of, are those records going to be admitted at trial, and do we know they exist? And the defendant hasn't made out any of those factors at this point. The defendant is essentially assuming that there are records, does not know what is in those records, and as a basis is requesting. And that is not a Rule 17 motion, that's a discovery motion. And with regard to that kind of last prong of Lampron, I think the defendant makes clear her basis for.
I mean, if Lally's 37, I'm turning 50 in 6 months. So that's awkward for Lally.
The request in counsel's affidavit, as I cite in my opposition. And that's thus the communication surrounding this, parentheses, and other meetings, which again, the defendant has no basis to believe there might even be other meetings, close parentheses, may reveal information necessitating further pretrial motions, including a motion to dismiss based on extraordinary governmental misconduct. And that's the purpose of this Rule 17 motion, but that's not the purpose of Rule 17. The purpose of Rule 17 is to bring into court relevant and admissible records. These records are not relevant to an issue in this case. They would not be admissible under any rule of evidence. And based on what's actually asserted by my brother in his affidavit.
Thank you, James.
Nothing
34.
about that assertion meets the rule of Rule 17, meets the requirements of Rule 17. The fact that communications may reveal information right off the bat fails. And the fact that they are looking for these records as they might necessitate further pretrial motions, including a motion to dismiss, is entirely anathema to Rule 17, which is designed to bring records into the court for purpose of trial. And so based on all of those and what I lay out in my papers, I would ask the court to deny the motion.
All right.
She'll take that under advisement, obviously, Bev. Google is your friend, James Lynch. I'll never forget the sheer backlash I got when I shared a picture that I saw of Lally. I saw it on Turtle Boy's one of his many episodes, the Canton, the whole thing, the whole Turtle Boy thing, and it was a picture of Lally in high school, and I think it was his yearbook, and it was that Lally was in the friendship club, and I found that hilarious. Not the fact that there's friendship clubs, and not the fact that friendship clubs in high school would and are very beneficial for people who might not have a lot of friends and might want to join the club to the outsiders in high school, outside of those mean girls and mean boys groups. And I just got ravaged on Twitter. They're like, how dare you? I was like, oh my God, I'm poking fun at Lally, not at the fucking friendship club or the. Anyway, yeah, Twitter. Good old Twitter. You got to be thick-skinned for Twitter, for X.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reddington, do you want to add anything? I do have your motion to join in the opposition that was just argued by Mr. Kettlewell, but do you want to add anything to that, sir?
No, Your Honor. What I would do is basically, as I indicated in the motion, is join in on the motion, noting the objection
4th of July,
McCabe, obviously asserting her privacy rights, obviously suggesting, as counsel just did, that this is a clever maneuver to try to kind of weaponize Rule 17 to turn it into a discovery motion.
Sorry, Kevin Reddington, wherever he's on holidays. Lynn, all you need to do is make a donation to Karen's Defense Fund or her Venmo or PayPal over $10 and take a screenshot of your receipt and then get it to me via email. My email address is all one word. It's Miss Shorty at gmail.com, or you can hit me up on any of the socials in Discord and send me the receipt and a copy of and also your postal address. And if you're in the States, I have helpers over there ready to send them out. They are locked and loaded and ready to go. They're itching to send those bad boys out. So that's how. But yes, a donation to Karen in some way with a receipt. My mouse just isn't like me today. So that, yes, help a Shorty out. They started that fundraising drive in September, maybe even August. I don't know, a long time ago. I thought they'd fly out the door, but we've still got about 100 left.
We all know that the September 25 meeting was about harassment and what these two women had been going through on the news media with the extreme harassment that they were suffering as a result of their being witnesses on a case and cooperating with the government's prosecution of Ms. Reed. So I suggest to the court that comments like the records may reveal, and they possibly would show, which is what's in the motions that's before the court, clearly shows that there's no basis, there's no factual basis to determine that these are relevant material records other than speculating that they may reveal. Just like the allegations that the photograph of the two young kids would be Jennifer McCabe's daughters, and they're not. And it's so frustrating to the McCabe's and everybody else because they know whose kids these are. The parents that know that they're their children, but nevertheless, they consistently suggest that this is a show.
5th of January this year, apparently. Thank you, Olivia Nile, for that factoid.
That he's sitting there with these two kids that are the McCabe's children, and therefore, as counsel argues, this is evidence of extraordinary governmental misconduct, which is a wild accusation to be making at this point. And I suggest to the court that weaponizing Rule 17 is not proper.
Everybody loves Cox. Hygiene.
Request initially objecting. And the fact that the counsel has indicated that the government basically concedes and assents and does not oppose should not interfere with Your Honor's analysis of Rule 17 as opposed to any Rule 14 or any discovery motions that would be appropriate before the court. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Do you want to respond, Mr. Jackson, before I hear briefly from the Commonwealth?
Very, very briefly. Your Honor, I would simply, to the microphone, I would simply note as to my brother's arguments, eloquent as they may be, they missed the mark. Obviously, this is relevant and admissible. Again, I don't believe that Elizabeth Proctor has standing in the court to actually argue Lampron, but since it was brought up and since that seems to be the foundation of her argument, I do want to address one point.
Dave's channel, this Jennifer.
There's a case that was cited by my brother in his moving papers called U.S. versus Abel. It's found at 469 U.S. 45. It's a 1984 case. It does not stand for the proposition that is propounded in the paperwork. Indeed, that is a federal case, not a state court case. That's the first line of distinction. Second of all, it is a mischaracterization of the holding in Abel to say that the scope of impeachment is the outer limits. The scope of impeachment is limited to the outer limits of taking the witness's word for it. And I would simply bear upon or ask the court to review the actual holding in Abel, Justice Rehnquist does not state that the scope of impeachment is limited to, quote, taking the witness at the witness's word or taking the answer of the witness, end quote. But rather, the court specifically held that it's permissible to impeach a witness by showing his or her bias. And that's all we're seeking to do. In the court's words, Justice Rehnquist's words, quote, a successful showing of bias on the part of a witness would have a tendency to make the facts to which the witness testifies less probable in the eyes of the jury than it would be without such testimony. And that's found at page 51. Contrary to counsel's misunderstanding of the holding of Abel, our impeachment of this witness is not limited to taking Jennifer McCabe's word for it. We're entitled to extrinsic evidence about her bias, about her lack of neutrality.
Bye, Jennifer.
About her,
Thanks for coming.
Take
care.
Attacking her credibility. This evidence is clearly relevant. It's clearly admissible, and the Commonwealth concedes as much in its opposition paperwork. And with that, I'll submit.
Mr. Kettlewell, did you need to respond in any way? Okay, sure.
That was me. I'm the mod. Hi, it's me.
So I'm not going to debate Abel because the court can certainly read the case.
Adam Lally. Adam Lally.
Essentially, it's the defendant's burden.
Which is awkward for all of us, isn't it? Really?
The defendant bears the burden to get the court to issue a subpoena and has to show all four of those factors. And it's not about whether the Commonwealth objects or does not object, and whether I have standing beyond an issue of privacy or not, which I would argue that a third party whose records are being sought certainly does. It's a question of whether they have met those elements, and they have not.
All right. Mr. Reddington, did you need to add anything to that?
No, Your Honor, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Does the Commonwealth want to argue this in any way?
Oh my God, I'm up to the bottom of the
briefly,
chat. Amazing.
Okay.
Caught up. Yay, Ruthie. Home
Thank
from
you, Your Honor.
York.
Not to belabor the point,
But I
just
will.
to make the Commonwealth's position clear, the Commonwealth is not opposing. The
Trigger
Commonwealth,
warning, it's
however, does
Lally.
not assent, does not concede anything as it relates to any sort of relationship or whatever is being termed as a close personal relationship. The relationship, as the Commonwealth understands it, between essentially Trooper Proctor and Miss McCabe is that Trooper Proctor has a sister who has a friend who has a sister who has a husband who has a brother who has a wife who has a sister who is Jennifer McCabe. And it's such a close personal relationship that after apparently scouring social media, there are exactly 0 photos that counsel has produced of Miss McCabe and Trooper Proctor pictured together at any point in time. And essentially what you have to establish this close personal relationship is a wedding party from a decade ago and some photographs of Trooper Proctor with children purported to be Miss McCabe's children, which are not Miss McCabe's children.
Oh my God, what's he talking about?
But given the
So hard to follow.
limited scope of what is being asked for, the Commonwealth is not opposing the motion, but would obviously request that if the court were to allow the motion, that both sides would have equal access to inspect and copy whatever screenshots are then provided by the record holders, that being the third party witnesses. Thank you.
All right.
Oh,
I'll
Lally,
take
you need
this
to
under
sticky.
advisement.
You need to
Mr.
sticky.
Reddington,
Oh,
you're free to
still take it
leave,
under advisement.
but thank you for attending.
Free Billy Tibbet.
You're free to stay too, but
Free Billy Tibbet.
all right. So now we'll do the motion regarding the Commonwealth's motion for protective order pertaining to the DNA profiles of the investigating law enforcement officers. So I'll hear from the Commonwealth first, then I will hear from counsel for the officers, and then I'll hear the defendant's opposition. Who's arguing this for the defense?
I will be, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. I will hear you, Mr. Lally.
Shut the fuck up, Lally. God, sorry, trigger warning, Lally. Trigger warning.
So, Your Honor, just to clarify on this, just a point I think maybe
Nothing will be
misconstrued
clearer.
based
Nothing
on
will
the
be
defendant's
clearer.
opposition.
Oh my God.
This is not a situation in which these troopers have consented to anything at this point. The purpose of filing the motion was to try to gain some guidance from the court as to how mechanisms would be concerned with the collection of DNA, the retention of DNA.
Speaking of, Dave, if you're going into the Stop and Shop, can you get a few extra bags for them? It's very fitting because Lally is talking about, evidence collection. So, Dave, if you could please grab a few of spare extra bags, even if it's just ones that you've used before, we'll then drop them over to the Canton PD because they don't have evidence bags there. So, thanks, Dave. Thanks.
Of DNA, the destruction of DNA, and the timing in regard to that prior to obtaining either Trooper Proctor or Sergeant Buchanan's consent in relation to the taking of any bugle swab. So how this sort of arises is there is DNA reports in relation to the taillight of the defendant's vehicle. There are 3 possible contributors to that DNA mixture. One is positively identified as that of the victim, John O'Keefe. 2 others are unknown. There's been rampant sort of speculation, accusations levied against these particular troopers in regard to contaminating evidence or planting evidence and things of that nature. So the exploration of this is sort of caused by that, in the sense of the Commonwealth believes that whatever DNA comes back, it would exclude those 2 troopers as being contributors to the unknown sources of DNA.
Yeah,
so
definitely get some cups too, some red Solar
what the
cups,
Commonwealth
please,
is
Dave.
seeking, and the reason that the Commonwealth actually filed another motion asking for sort of an expedited response from the defendant is the hope of the Commonwealth, especially with March 12th jury trial date looming, was my hope was that there would be some sort of agreement that could be come to and a joint proposal to be presented to the court so the court could act on the papers, and this testing could be well underway, if not already completed, by the time that we reached today's court date. That unfortunately was not what happened. So we received the response earlier this week from the defendant. Essentially, most of the proposals that are included within the defendant's opposition are the precise alternative proposals as far as the protocol as the.
Do you think Lally knows what he's saying? It's so hard to follow, man. He had so much more hair a year ago. What's doing with his hair? Baby shark, but it's like it's this way. It's not this way, is it? It's back. It's like a Bart Simpson. Oh my goodness, Lally. I can't. And you're right. His suit does match his personality. There is nothing dynamic or bold about Lally except his audacity to prosecute an innocent woman for clearly not a vehicular murder.
The Commonwealth had laid it out. So as far as the defense not wishing for anybody associated with the state lab or state police to be collecting the sample, that's fine. We had proposed Ms. Christina Owens simply because she's a civilian member of the crime scene services section.
Thanks, LA.
But if it, as long as it's a certified collector, it doesn't have to be anybody associated with that. The defendant has some issue with the state police crime lab conducting any of the testing, whether that be generating the sample or doing the comparative testing, and seems to be fine with that process proceeding at Bodie and Lorton, Virginia, where some other testing related to this case is already being done. That's fine with the Commonwealth as well. Obviously, that's going to prolong things a little bit.
I really do, Mello. Oh my God.
Do we know that?
Dave, could you please get me a flavored nicotine vape also? Do they sell them at Stop and Shops? I have to go out after this. Yuck. I had to go out yesterday to go to Aldi to do my grocery shopping because there was no more meat for the dogs. They needed their luxury meat. And I was like, ugh, melting in the sun. It's like I haven't been outside for a week. And now I'm going to go out again because I couldn't be fucked yesterday to go to the vape shop. And now I'm regretting that poor choice. One of many.
I mean, what I can say is that our office would certainly be inclined to pay whatever additional fees would be necessary to expedite that testing. But as far as the time frame is concerned, I really can't say exactly how long that's going to transpire for. But as far
Chat,
as
I love you so much.
it seems
Chat
to
is
be sort of
Bay.
the
Chat
main
is
sort
Bay.
of point of contention is the defendant's ability or access to the actual sample.
Candy, we all do.
That is something I would object to. As far as, particularly in this case, I don't think there's really going to be any question that the samples or the profile that's generated is the profile of the individual troopers. It's going to be collected by an independent certified collector. It's going to be the DNA profile will be generated at an independent lab. The comparative analysis would be generated at an independent lab, and counsel would certainly have access to those DNA profiles should the defendant wish to, compare it to any other types of, any other pieces of evidence or any other, DNA that either they recovered during their evidence inspection or that was collected by the state police in regards to their investigation. So the need for the actual sample, I'm not really sure where that comes from, and the suggestion that the Commonwealth would have more access to it than the defendant would, especially if the court is inclined to go with the alternative suggestions of the independent collector, the independent generation of the profile, and the independent comparative analysis. I really don't see what defendant's access to the samples does.
Thank you, Morsey. Much respect to you. I'm a huge proponent of women supporting other women. Same girl. Mean girl shit doesn't work for me. But thank you. Rising seas lift all ships. Women supporting women, stronger together. Thank you. Amen.
Or lends to any sort of credulity to the testing or to any further testing that the defendant wishes to conduct.
Oh, God, he doesn't know what he's going to say next. Oh my God, that's better than him talking.
As far as
violence is better than
that, I think really the only other sort of disparity or sticking point is the retention. The Commonwealth had suggested the end of the trial process. The reason for that versus what the defendant is suggesting as far as the conclusion of the appellate process is obviously the close of the trial process has a much more definitive end frame to it as opposed to the appellate process that could go on for months and years, if not after. And given
except Boston MA, I think like vanilla has some sort of connotations of sweetness, and there ain't nothing sweet about Lally. So I think taupe or beige or just drab, man.
Limited nature for which the Commonwealth is seeking
in every way.
The consent of these troopers to conduct this DNA analysis. It certainly made more sense to myself and to the Commonwealth as far as setting that time period if the court wishes to alter that to the conclusion of the appellate process. There are other mechanisms I would suggest that the defendants could avail themselves of should they have a need for, again, the profile would exist sort of in perpetuity in their possession, at least until the end of the appellate process. And there are obviously far more mechanisms available today than there have been in previous years as to post-conviction discovery and obtaining further samples, things of that nature. So again, that was the reason for the suggestion for the end of the trial court process. But again, the purpose of this motion was to seek the court's guidance as to exactly what the parameters of that collection, retention, destruction.
Tara, do you think, is she like this woman right here, there, the dark hair? She's got a bag on her still over her body, her side bag. And she's like, get me out of here. If this man keeps talking, I don't know what the fuck he's saying, but I can't with this fool. I have to stick it out. It's like all of us going, oh my God, let's just get to the good stuff.
And all of that would be so that can be presented to the troopers so that they can make an intelligent decision as far as their consent is concerned.
If this were ordered to be done at the state lab, when would the results be in?
That I think, especially given just prior turnaround time in relation to other testing that's been done in this case at the state lab, I would hope that could be completed within 6-7 weeks, something like that, at the most.
Okay. Do you want me to hear from Ms. Lundgren now or after? I mean, this is your motion. Do you want me to hear from her now?
I think that's fine as far as the orders are concerned.
Whatever you say, Mommy. Whatever you suggest, Mom. Blally. Yes, Charlie Blally. Oh, who's this lady? She's got some highlights. Girl, she needs
Gretchen Lundgren, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Thank you for hearing from me on behalf of Sergeant Buchanan and Trooper Proctor in a discussion as their privacy interests as it relates to the Commonwealth's motion for protective.
Yes, James, vanilla can mean boring. Yes, vanilla sex, for example. I just think that there's nothing sweet about Lally because Lally looks like a cigarette, right? He's just like, oh, and yeah.
Order. The proposed protective order strikes a balance between protecting the sensitive and personal DNA information of two individuals who are not alleged to have had anything to do with the death of John O'Keefe, while giving all parties access to the resulting scientific DNA analysis. The defense's opposition casts the proposed protective order as allowing the Commonwealth to obtain, test, and analyze the samples without giving them the same opportunity, but that's simply not the case. There are areas of significant agreement between the parties here. Both parties are willing to have an independent law enforcement officer obtain the DNA sample. Both parties are willing to have an independent lab develop the DNA profile and conduct the comparative analysis. Both parties will receive the same reports and underlying data.
I wasn't listening.
Once an independent lab develops the DNA profiles, Your Honor, there should be no need for anybody to have access to the sample thereafter. And with an independent lab conducting the comparative analysis, there should be no need for anyone to have to conduct further testing. And finally, Your Honor, once the trial is over, there should be no need for those DNA materials to be on file. And as Mr. Lally said, the legislature has provided a mechanism for obtaining third-party DNA post-conviction. So there's certainly a safety net there if the DNA is needed post-trial. Your Honor, protecting the troopers' DNA samples and profiles through these procedures and protocols poses no violations of the Commonwealth's mandatory discovery obligations. The Commonwealth and the defense would be on equal footing with regard to the troopers' DNA evidence. Each party is free to argue the implication of the results at trial as they see fit. As Your Honor can appreciate, my clients are under no obligation whatsoever to provide their DNA in this matter, but they seek to take steps to demonstrate the integrity of their handling of the tail light evidence.
Yikes.
In order to provide consent knowingly and voluntarily, they're looking for certainty surrounding who has access to their DNA, how their DNA is handled, and ultimately how their DNA is disposed of. On behalf of my clients, Your Honor, I respectfully request that you issue the protective order proposed by the Commonwealth.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Yannetti, it sounds, when I read your opposition, I did not know that there was this much agreement. Did you when you filed it?
I did not, and quite frankly, hearing the argument from both counsel, I think there's even more agreement than I anticipated.
Okay.
So, Your Honor.
What do you disagree with?
Okay, so our position, Your Honor, is at this point, with regard to the DNA samples versus the DNA profiles.
So where are you in your opposition? What page?
So I'm actually going to the Commonwealth's motion itself with regard to how the DNA samples and profiles will be treated.
Okay.
We did not realize that the Commonwealth was drawing a distinction between the actual samples themselves and the profiles that were generated. It was our understanding that the Commonwealth was seeking to prohibit the defense from having access to either. But I've just
but they're not.
Exactly. I've heard Mr. Lally say today that they will turn over the profile to us. That satisfies us.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Since you mentioned Bodie Laboratories, you're the first one that mentions it in the pleadings. How long will it take?
We're not the first ones that mentioned it. The Commonwealth mentioned it in their motion, and we agreed to that.
All right. I don't have that.
Your Honor, it is one of the alternatives that the Commonwealth had. I'm sorry, I can find
Okay,
them.
so we need to find the paper number. All right, but we need to know how quickly that can be done, and we need to see about expediting it.
Typical for Bodie, just because I've recently gone through that with regard to the hair sample.
Right.
It's, I think, like a 12 to 14 week turnaround without any sort of expedition. So, you know, expediting, I don't know that necessarily that can be cut in half, but it is something that I think can be turned around a little bit quicker than their typical turnaround time.
And Ms. Lundgren, you'll have your clients available, you know, at the drop of a hat to provide this sample? All right, so go ahead, Mr. Yannetti.
Thank you. So, Your Honor, I think the only real conflict at this point, if the Commonwealth is holding to their motion, is their paragraph 7, which states the defendant is not permitted to conduct independent analysis or testing with either Sergeant Buchnick's or Trooper Proctor's DNA samples or profiles. Now, clearly, we won't do that with regard to the samples because we won't have them. We don't need them. But we will have the DNA profiles, Your Honor. And once we do, they, in my view, in my client's view, we should be able to use them for any case-related purpose. We have no interest in, distributing them anywhere or doing anything with them.
Hold on, Ms. Lundgren, I think you should answer this. Why don't you come on up? Is there an opposition to that?
I just need you in front of a microphone. There's one right here. Thank you.
He's so sexy, Yannetti, right?
No, because we'll be going back and forth, so you should stay there.
With all due respect to Mrs. Yannetti, the greatest of respect, Mr. Yannetti is, sir, you can object anytime.
There is an opposition, Your Honor. I mean, I think perhaps the Commonwealth can speak to it. I think there was also a strategic decision, a case-related decision. Certainly, we agree with the privacy interests that The troopers are providing their DNA for a specific reason and with regard to a specific item in this case. And they do want to limit that consent. However, that is more, I believe, a case-related and strategic reason that I would also defer to the Commonwealth to speak to.
All right, I'll hear from Mr. Lally afterwards. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
No, not now.
Yeah,
I'll wait for
not
Mr.
now.
Reddy to finish.
Not
Right.
now.
So there is other evidence in this case where comparative testing, DNA testing could be done. And in addition, Your Honor, I want to make it clear that our investigation has been ongoing and is ongoing to this day. We may come into possession of evidence related to this case, physical evidence, that we may want to do our own comparative testing on. And once those profiles are released, assuming that there's consent and that the Commonwealth comes into possession of a DNA profile, and the defense does as well by Mr. Lally's admission today, that should be evidence that either side can use for any proper purpose that is case related. So we should not be prohibited from either requesting or doing our own comparative analysis from those DNA profiles if it relates to the case.
What do you want to say, Mr. Lally? We're talking hypotheticals here.
We are.
Right.
So what I would say is the only other identified evidence, or the bulk of it as far as DNA is concerned, concerns Mr. O'Keefe's clothing, which I don't understand what any relevance that would have pertaining to the trooper's DNA profiles. As it pertains to what ifs, as far as any sort of other physical evidence that counsel would come into possession to, the protective order, while somewhat ironclad, is not necessarily cement. So if there's a request for a modification based on subsequent evidence or something like that, I think that's something that the court can obviously entertain at that point. But really, the purpose of this is with reference to that one specific item.
It does make sense that if there is something later, you come before me on it.
Well,
so that's why I asked you if it's hypothetical. If you have an item that you want to test, I think the Commonwealth has every right to know what that item is.
Okay, our position would be that we should be able to conduct our own investigation in private and reveal the results of those investigations, should we desire to. We have a different ethical duty than the Commonwealth. Clearly, if there's any evidence that the Commonwealth possesses that we'd like to do comparative testing on, we have no choice but to notify the Commonwealth and resolve any disputes before this court. But if we come into possession of anything that we believe is related to this case and should be tested, we don't believe that's any business of the Commonwealth to interject in that. We will have the profile at that point. We can do our own testing and then reveal the results of that testing should we desire to.
All right. Does the Commonwealth want to be heard?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Maybe we have just a quick second, Your Honor.
Yep.
My co-counsel brings up a good point, which is after months and months and months of requesting access to the physical evidence, we finally appeared at the Norfolk County DA's office on December 1st of 2023 with our forensic DNA collection expert, and he did swabbings of multiple pieces of evidence. So we do have those in our possession.
All right. I had no idea what you were talking about when you were saying hypothetically.
Well, there are two separate issues. There are the items that we've swabbed that we should be able to test. And if we have the DNA profiles of these troopers, there should be nothing prohibiting us from testing them. And by the way, the Commonwealth has the ability to do the exact same testing on their own. And then if there's any other evidence, I still maintain that we should be able to do comparative testing on that as well.
All right.
Danny says, little did we know that at this time they had the carpet from 34 Fairview. So this argument makes total sense now. Exactly. That's why it's so valuable for us to go back and not just watch the testimony from the trial, which we've all seen so many times. And even then we're learning stuff every time we rewatch different testimonies. But these ones, this is where the big heavy lifting happens in any trial, is the pre-trial motions. So it's important, but for us, even more so. For Karen, for John.
All right. Let's get the samples going. Let's do that, and I'll figure out the rest of this. But let's get who do you have in mind for an independent collector?
Your Honor, I don't have anyone specific in mind, but most local police departments have at least someone who is a detective who is a certified collector.
Is there someone the two of you work out something?
I don't have any issue with working out something with Mr. Lally.
All right, so let's do it today.
That sounds good.
All right, and Ms. Lundgren, you'll make your witnesses available immediately?
Yes, Your Honor, but I just, for sake of clarification, just trying to understand, and as Mr. Lally said, they have not provided their consent yet. They are waiting to
Okay.
hear what the boundaries of the proposed protective order will be in order to provide that, knowing and voluntary consent.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could certainly potentially do the samples and hold them in abeyance and not release them if the court was willing to have them destroyed should the troopers decide not to provide consent based on the bounds of the protective order. But certainly, I think they do need to know what those terms are before moving forward.
All right. I need to look at this. I'll do it as quickly as I can. All right. Is that it on this?
Yes, Your Honor. On this
Right.
motion, yes.
All right. So the third and the fourth motion are sort of in their own category. So the third motion is, it's interesting in that I received the opposition, or the opposition to motion for protective order was filed before the motion for protective order, as I had it in the docket. Who's arguing this for the defendant?
This is the protective order regarding the letters, Your Honor?
Yes.
I will be arguing.
All right. So what I can say, Mr. Yannetti, is that it appears that you served counsel for the Commonwealth with this motion, but you did not serve the U.S. Attorney's Office. So the U.S. Attorney's Office has a right to be heard on this order, on this proposal that you have. So I need them here. I need them served. So you can serve them and we'll get a date.
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right, and we'll do it as soon as possible. I do not want to change the trial date in this case. This case will go to trial on March 12th. And the fourth motion, where I said the third and the fourth are sort of in the same category, the Commonwealth's motion for records from Boston Magazine. That needs to be appropriately served and have someone here from Boston Magazine if they oppose it.
Yes.
So I'd like to do this as soon as possible. And given our trial schedule and the fact that I intend that we try this case in March, like everybody served for a hearing here on January 18th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a Thursday afternoon. So it's just about 2 weeks. Should give you enough time if you serve these people today to get them here. We can do it via Zoom where it's
Zoom.
Your Honor,
discrete issues. Yes.
we're in trial on January 18th. It's a short trial. Is there any other day that might work for the court?
I don't see any time that we can.
Is the 16th at all possible?
No.
No, no.
Oh, that's right on the back of the holiday, isn't it?
We're both supposed
I understand that. No, it's not available. We start a trial Monday.
we're both supposed to be in trial that day.
All right, so you can do it via Zoom, or Mr. Yannetti can do it.
I can certainly do it. There's no chance of the 23rd, Your Honor?
No, there's no chance that week.
Okay.
If they had been served, we would have gone forward with that. I'm more concerned about that one, getting that one rolling than the other one. All right. So January 18th at 3 o'clock. All right. Anything else we need to talk about? Doesn't appear to be.
Your Honor, I think it makes sense to raise this one issue, which is today was the filing deadline for all non-evidentiary motions.
Right, and none have been for evidentiary motions. Today was the filing deadline for evidentiary motions, motions to suppress, things like that.
I understand. So the defense will be filing before the end of business today, not evidentiary motions, but non-evidentiary motions to one motion to dismiss and one motion for sanctions and also for disqualification of the Norfolk County DA's office from this case.
All right, so you were not filing motions to suppress.
Correct.
So they're being waived.
Correct.
All evidentiary motions are waived.
Correct. Well, yeah, we'll have pretrial motions in limine. I don't know if they would.
Okay, but everything else, so,
But in
okay.
terms of constitutional issues.
So file them by the end of today, and if we can hear them on that date, we'll do that on the 18th.
Right, and that would, depend on Mr. Lowley's ability to respond, et cetera, which, I understand he may need some time, but they will be filed today.
Okay. All right, thank you all.
Your Honor, there's several I apologize. Your Honor, there's several housekeeping matters I wanted to address with the court. In regards to the motions to dismiss that Mr. Yannetti, my brother, just discussed, we
Go,
do
Liza.
have
Go,
a motion
Liza.
to dismiss the indictments in this case, and I wanted to lodge the grand jury minutes with the court. They are very voluminous. I wanted to ask the court's guidance on how you would prefer to receive those.
So when that happens, we typically get them on a flash drive, as well as, Jimmy, how are they filed with you?
Counsel have filed by email and then followed up at the grand jury minutes. So they can do it by thumb drive.
All right, so a thumb drive, but get a separate one from
We'll
me.
mail that to you so that you'll have the hard copy, the thumb drive. The other housekeeping issue I wanted to address with the court, Your Honor, is, as you know, the court has ordered the Verizon records relating to Jennifer McCabe, as well as the Google Nest records. We were informed by the clerk's office those were supposed to be produced to the court on December 15th. My understanding is you guys have not received anything, and I wanted to follow up on that because that obviously is evidence that we hope to have in advance of trial.
All right, so Mr. Clerk, is your office call or is counsel call?
I've never called.
Yeah. So typically defense counsel calls and says there's a court order. Where are these records?
I emailed the clerk's office and they said that they haven't received anything yet. And so that's why I wanted
Right. So call Verizon and call, who's the other record holder?
Google Nest.
Contact the record holder and say there's a court order. Where are these records?
Okay. But
Okay.
you all have not received anything.
I don't know. Jim?
Yes, no, I'm
Have you received them?
False tonight.
Okay.
Sidebar. Sidebar. So there's a poll, I believe. There's a poll. Oh my God, it's loud in my ears. Loud in everybody's ears. Karen looks so beautiful. Done. We have a poll. Lally looks more like a beige wall, vanilla ice cream, or a cigarette. Thanks all for being here. Love you, Karen. Free Karen Reed. Very loud. Her hair is so beautiful. God, she's so beautiful.
Your Honor, if I may, just one last thing, just with regard to the motion to dismiss, as far as does the court want the exhibits that were presented to the grand jury in addition to the minutes, or just the minutes?
Yes, I assume where you say it's so voluminous, it's the exhibits as well, Ms. Little?
I can produce.
You have to stand in Massachusetts. Thank you.
I can produce the evidence as well.
Okay. All right. So everything.
And I don't have a problem providing that to the court as well. I don't want to duplicate matters, but if it's easier, I can do it. It's fine.
So those would obviously be provided under seal, Your Honor.
Thank you, Taryn, for working up polls. That's so exciting.
That's with regard to the motion to dismiss, that the basis of which is the grand jury presentation. The separate
Is it McCarthy or Odell?
Both. With regard to the second motion for sanctions, Your Honor, the letters that were the issue of the protective order that the Commonwealth moved for, that we've now put off, those will be part of the quote unquote evidence with regard to the motion for sanctions. It's our position, obviously, that those are not exempt from public disclosure. However,
I'm going to keep them exempt until we hear from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
That's why I raised the issue, Your Honor. I just wanted
was that your suggestion as well, so we could get moving with this motion to dismiss?
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, please.
All rise.
Thank you.
Okay, that's that. Beautiful. Stop sharing. Thank you all for being here. It's amazing to have you all here on this Saturday night for you guys. It's Sunday midday here now. So wait, what was I doing? This. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. 216 of you watching at the moment, whether you're in chat or not. Lovely to have you. Big shorties, little shorties, new subscribers, lurkers, infiltrators, all of you, welcome. We see you. So this one, Bev, she just goes straight into it. So are we ready? Are we ready? Born ready. Oh, wow, but I haven't pressed play, so it's not that exciting. Hang on. Oh, no, just straight in. So this is, I don't know if this is in order. I just did YouTube shit and we're just watching them. Helter skelter, as is our wont.
We were last here on February 26th. I first anticipated that today would be for all motions, but I did read the very detailed affidavit from defense counsel regarding dates and what we should cover. And so today, as you know, I changed some of the dates to accommodate
Hi,
you.
K-Fan.
To accommodate, I think there was some short trial dates you may have had or restitution dates. And
So far, so good,
we
Vix.
did get the order on the new dates. So today is only for filing all Rule 17 motions and for the motion to dismiss under Odell and the motion for sanctions. So I don't remember if it was Mr. Jackson or Mr. Yannetti who last time said that I was operating from a blind spot because I didn't have the information that was disclosed to you folks from the U.S. Attorney's Office. So you were good enough to get me the entire packet, which I appreciate. I read it. I see.
So clearly it's a shortcoming of mine or a shortfall or an oversight, I guess, that I haven't got them in order. But, we'll watch all of them as I find them on the old YouTubes. And so it'll be like a choose your own adventure where you're going back and forth in the pages. I totally meant to do it like that. Yikes.
See now how the federal investigation began and when it began. I've also read the pleading. So the motion to dismiss, defendant's motion to dismiss is around 50 pages with attachments. The supplement is about 15 pages. The Commonwealth's opposition is about the same. The motion for sanctions is about 30 pages. There's no supplement, Mr. Yannetti?
There's no supplement.
Okay, and then the Commonwealth had about 25 pages, and then the Commonwealth supplement covered both motions, and the Commonwealth had originally probably hundreds of pages of exhibits. So I have read all of that, and I am mindful also, I keep coming back to the letter that was written to me on February 26th from the Deputy U.S. Attorney, who says, we expect, of course, that the parties will disclose orally the materials in court only as necessary to further the proceedings. So I've read everything. I'm going to give each side 10 minutes, and we're going to start with the motion to dismiss. So, Mr. Jeff.
So, fun little fact. When this one, this hearing was held, I was, and don't hold it against me, because prior to that, there was no real issue with this person. I was a moderator for Roberta Glass, and she streamed this, and I'd sent Roberta Sleuthy Goosey's spreadsheets and all of her resources as it was available on the Twitter, and it became very apparent. I think Ruthie, you would have been there in that chat, I believe, and it became very apparent that Roberta Glass had quite the contrary anti stance against Karen Reid. So it was very hard because I was a moderator for a channel whose opinion I did not support at all, and I left for that and other reasons within, I'd say, a week, if that. Shit went south real fast with that one.
Jackson, I'll hear you. I think it would be particularly helpful if you were to focus on the exact prejudice to the defendant and how this all goes to the core of the Odell motion. And as you know, that's an awfully high bar. So go ahead.
Your Honor, I will try to edit my comments to stay within the 10-minute mark. It's very difficult to do that. I did not know that we were going to be under such incredible time constraints. As a matter of fact, I thought that the court said the last time we were in court, we had basically your words.
Yeah, all day. But that was when we had all the motions. But it's just these two motions today.
But they're big.
They're big.
That's what she said.
Why don't you go ahead and start? If you need additional time, tell me. But it would be important to focus your argument. Again, I'm mindful of what the U.S. Attorney said to me in that letter.
And I am as well. And that mindfulness suggests that my comments will be directed to that which is necessary to further the proceedings.
Okay.
Which means that.
Right ahead.
I'll start with the basic rule of Odell. We start with the postulate that any distortion of the evidence, that's where we start. Any distortion of the evidence during the course of a grand jury proceeding impairs the integrity of the indictment, if there is an indictment, and pursuant to Odell, that requires dismissal. In this particular case, there were myriad examples, which I will, again, I'll edit. I was going to go through several, but I'll just touch on them very quickly.
Your memo, I have to say, your memo is very thorough and very helpful to me because you outline everything, and same in your supplement.
Thank you. The first point I want to discuss is what we believe is the failure to disclose Sergeant Michael Lank's personal lifelong relationship with some of the individuals.
Yeah, Joseph. She also trashed me on one of her lives. It was my first taste of the YouTube creator trashing. I love that for us. I love, women lifting up women.
Specifically the individual, Chris Albert. There was a comment or an incident, I should say, that we referred to in our moving papers that dealt with Chris Albert and Sergeant Lank years ago. They have a long-standing, years-long relationship. And I'll close this loop in just a second, but if you'll allow me, that relationship goes all the way back to 2002 at least. And there was an incident in which Sergeant Lank and Chris Albert had gotten into what can easily be described as a bar fight. Chris Albert had gotten into a bar fight of some sort. Michael Lank walks out of the same bar or an adjacent bar. He had been drinking with his buddy Chris. He walks out, stumbles out, announces to the participants in this fight that he was quote unquote deputizing himself, and ultimately came to Chris Albert's aid. That was with the specific intent to assist an Albert.
Sorry, I won't interrupt anymore. I'll try not to. But Amber, it's interesting that you put that up on that comment in the chat, and then I put it up on the screen. And just then, my vocabulary app, I love words, and I have an app that sends me many words a day. And the word that just flashed up onto my screen was affluent. So the universe says otherwise, Amber. We are all rich in many ways.
In getting out of a legal jam, all the way back to 2002. The reason I bring that up, and by the way, both of the individuals involved, not Sergeant Lank, both of the other individuals involved were ultimately arrested by Sergeant Lank. That case went to trial, and both of the individuals were found not guilty of assault. And that's after Michael Lank engaged in fisticuffs with at least one of the men, to the degree that the Canton police officers had to pull him off of the individual.
So this is in your memo, and it also is exhibits C through E attached to your memo.
And the reason this comes to a head,
hi, Piney,
and the conflict of interest comes to a head is because Michael Lank ultimately was the first person to walk into Brian Albert's house. During the course of the grand jury, nobody elicited information from Michael Lank that he had a close personal relationship with the Alberts, that he had in years past come to the Alberts' aid. And yet he was the first person that came into the house. Even the grand jurors were stunned by this and the specific grand jurors asked Michael Lank and asked the Commonwealth, or through the Commonwealth of the witness, why didn't Brian Albert ever even come out of the house? And I think we have the
because he was one of the murderers. Yep. Fisticuffs is grab ass, and fisticuffs is like having a little punch on, a little rumble, a little bit of fighties, laying hands.
Answer. And the answer is because the Albert, specifically Brian Albert, was waiting on a friendly. And they got that friendly through Michael Lank. That was withheld from the grand jury. Sergeant Lank is a longtime childhood friend of the Alberts. The Canton Police Department was conflicted off the case because of those personal and familial relationships that the Alberts have with Canton Police Department.
Hi,
and
Nick.
Sergeant Lank has a history of using his position as a police officer to shield.
Hi, Nick. Yes, Alan Jackson always looks impeccable in his tailored suits. And Nick Francis also is a very dapper dresser, so I understand your standing of Alan Jackson. Fitted suit, presidential white pocket square, and a great shoe game. Probably wearing Tom Ford ombre leather too. Well, yes, I'm sure he is.
Shield the Alberts from criminal liability. That was never brought out. That's the kind of distortion that Odell talks about. Another broad example or a broad category that I want to discuss briefly deals with Trooper Michael Proctor. The Commonwealth withheld from the grand jury clear and even more egregious conflicts of interest as they pertain to Michael Proctor. Sergeant Lank was aware of this irremediable conflict that Canton Police Department had and that he should have had with the Alberts. So what does he do? He calls in Massachusetts State Police. And who do they send but Michael Proctor? And that's like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. That's the same Michael Proctor who's also years-long close family friends with the Alberts. The Proctors have called the Alberts their, quote, second family. And to that point, now we have benefit of some hindsight, and that's the federal investigation. We have been saying since September 16th, 2022, in lengthy motions that we filed before this court and filed with the Commonwealth, there is a conflict. You're not investigating the conflict. That conflict was never described to the grand jurors. And we've been rebuffed at every single turn. Newly uncovered text messages, but from the feds, revealed that on January 19th, 2022, think about that date, that's 10 days before the incident. January 19th, 2022, Michael Proctor texted his own family members discussing the specifics of having Julie Albert babysit for his toddler child. We should all let that sink in for a second.
So, yeah, I understand that.
There is a level of closeness that cannot be overstated.
Pausing just for a moment to say thank you, Morsey. Thank you so much for the Australian $29.99 super sticker. That's really kind of you. Thank you so much. Let's play this.
I'll take any motherfucker's money if he giving it away.
Thank you. That's awesome. Always fun to get a little bit of financial support to go along with the moral and just moral support. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you.
Michael Proctor is so connected to the Alberts that he was entrusting them or willing to entrust the Alberts to be caregivers for his toddler child. And it's not lost on anybody in this courtroom that for 2 years, the Commonwealth has been denying it and still denies it in their opposition paperwork. They still say, well, there's nothing to see here. It's Michael Proctor's sister who really is friends with Julie Albert, and that's not a big deal. Everybody looked the other way. As a matter of fact, Ms. McLaughlin wrote the following in her opposition. Trooper Proctor's supposed close and personal relationship with the Alberts is, quote, entirely unfounded and a desperate creation of the defense, a desperate creation of ours. She says we created this. But now we have the benefit of the federal investigation. And the Commonwealth finds itself in that very unenviable position of having to eat some very distasteful words. Because we didn't create anything. And there's more. On February 1st, 2022, 3 days after John O'Keefe was killed, there was another text message. In this one, Michael Proctor's sister texts Michael Proctor very specifically and writes the following, quote, just saw Julie, and Julie said when all this is over, she wants to give you, Michael Proctor, a thank you gift. Michael Proctor didn't respond with, that's inappropriate, these are witnesses, these are potential suspects, please tell her don't ever do that again, don't ever suggest an exchange of gifts again, that would be inappropriate. I'm gonna go write a report, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Lally, and Mr. Lally's gonna turn that information over to the defense and to the court. No, that's what he should have done. What he did do is he responded, get Elizabeth one, his wife. In other words, get the gift from my wife, it'll be a little less obvious. So now we have the lead investigator from Massachusetts State Police literally discussing the exchange of gifts between the Albert family on the one hand and the Proctor family on the other hand as a thank you, their words, for helping the Alberts out of a jam. And if you looked up quid pro quo in the dictionary, you would find this set of text messages. 2 years later, to the day, on February 1st, 2024.
Thank you so much, NH, as well. Thank you, thank you. That's really kind of you. Let's do this one.
I'll take any motherfucker's money if he giving it away. Shit.
Go back. Back to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's really sweet.
Now let's fast forward 2 years later. Now Michael Proctor finds himself on the witness stand in front of a federal grand jury, which we just found out about. That grand jury was tasked with a singular commission, and that was investigating crimes of public corruption by law enforcement in relation to this case. And during that testimony, he was confronted with these and myriad other examples of evidence of his close ties to the Albert family. And he admitted to an AUSA under very intense questioning that not only does he know the Alberts, and does he socialize with them, does he drink with them, does he go to pool parties with them, but he told his partner, Yuri Butnik, all of this before Yuri Butnik testified at the grand jury and before he and Butnik actually interviewed Chris Albert. Why does that mean something? Why does that mean something to the court and to this argument? Because when Yuri Butnik testified before the state court grand jury, he testified that, quote, following formal introductions, end quote, Julie Albert and Chris Albert provided their phone numbers. Following formal introductions. That was a clear deceit on the grand jurors. Yuri Butnik knew, as did Michael Proctor, they didn't need formal introductions. Michael Proctor was considering having Julie Albert babysit his kid 10 days ago. Actually, at that time, 13 days ago. That left the grand jury with the intentional false impression that these people literally do not know each other. They've never been in contact. They're complete strangers. That was a lie. That was a concerted effort to hide that relationship and to hide the conflict of interest. And the grand jurors were fooled. They were left with the impression, Michael Proctor, Yuri Butnik, they don't know these folks. They're completely neutral, independent investigators, and nothing could be further from the truth. And the revelation of this evidence culminated in front of that same grand jury on February 1st, 2024. Under additional intense questioning by the Assistant United States Attorney, Proctor was caught in his own web of deceit and testified as follows, quote, this is the AUSA talking, or asking the question. So obviously we're asking questions about your relationship with Julie Albert, with Chris Albert, and with Colin Albert. Do you understand that? Answer, yes, sir. Question, and you're saying that you're minimizing, quote, minimizing your relationship to the grand jury, correct? Answer, yes. He finally, under the scrutiny of a federal grand jury, admitted that he had been lying about his relationship to the Alberts, which means he lied to the grand jury, which means the evidence was distorted in front of the grand jury. And that is the burden that Odell requires.
All right, so your time is up, which includes me interjecting. Do you want 5 more minutes?
If I could implore the court.
I'd like you to sort of get to the questions I asked as well. All right, I know you're reciting the evidence that I've read, but so I'll give you 5 more minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to shift gears to another example or another series of examples of evidence that was distorted before the grand jury. And that deals with the use of, or the insinuation of Kevin Albert, yet another Albert, at the behest of Michael Proctor. Kevin Albert is a sworn Canton police officer. On day one, the Canton Police Department was completely recused off the case, in no small part because of Kevin Albert and the fact that.
Thank you so much, Piney. And yes, you should start your channel up again. I heard you on the Glare a week ago or so. Love your coverage, Miss Shorty. If you ever need a little extra legal analysis, man, I need a lot of legal analysis assistance. I'm just like spitballing and freeballing it over here. Lol. Always feel free to call me. 30 years a trial lawyer. Let's do something. My people can talk to your people, Piney. That sounds amazing. Let's definitely do something. Definitely. And this.
I'll take any motherfucker's money if he giving it away. Shit.
The fact that John O'Keefe's body was found on Kevin Albert's brother's lawn. Yet the evidence that has been disclosed by the federal investigation, which we were not privy to, is that Michael Proctor actually utilized Kevin Albert's services to coordinate with the very witnesses who should have been potentially suspects and certainly should not have been subject to coordination by an Albert. When that's the very person on whose lawn John O'Keefe, or his brother's lawn, John O'Keefe was found. I want to turn to at least one more situation in my remaining minute or so, given the fact that this is curtailed. And this is not in our papers, but obviously it's a complete and probably the most obvious distortion of the facts. The Commonwealth suppressed one of the most obvious pieces of exculpatory evidence in the entire case, and that was a piece of evidence that they know torpedoes their entire case and their theory of this case, and that's Jennifer McCabe's Google search at 2:27 a.m., how long to die in cold. They had her phone at the time.
Hoslong, Robin, would you believe it? Stephanie blah 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 won the raffle. So Steph won a pair of cool shades, bro, the same as mine. These aren't shades. Big old jar of Vegemite and a whole bunch of Australian chocolatey goodies. We'll do that. We'll do a similar raffle, probably not with the Sunnies, because yikes. Every month we'll do some fun stuff. I'm going to put some Australiana in there. People can vote on what they want to go in the raffle box. But that.
The time of the grand jury, they had her complete extraction of that phone at the time of the grand jury. They had a Celebrite report, Your Honor, at the time of the grand jury, and yet they did not present this evidence. They claim, oh, well, we didn't have the right version of the Celebrite software. That's on them. That's not our fault. Certainly not Ms. Reed's fault. That's their fault. Get the right software. If you're going to bring this case, do it the right way. They say their argument is, well, we just didn't have the right software, so we didn't have the information. That's not true. They did have the information. It was sitting in her phone. They just didn't do their job in extracting. And should the Commonwealth once again stand up in some sort of desperate pitch to dispute that time and this critical evidence, the court should note the following. Not only does the Celebrite report confirm the search and the time of that search, not only do our experts confirm the search and the time of that search, but now a Quantico-trained special agent with the FBI's Regional Computer Forensic Lab. In other words, the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation also specifically confirms that that search was made on Jennifer McCabe's phone, and it was made on or before 2:27 and 40 seconds a.m. on January 29th, 2022. That fact, Your Honor, is no longer open for debate.
Boom.
And none of that was presented before the grand jury. I'll conclude by saying any one of these examples, and I didn't touch on all of them, but any one of these examples, the gift giving, the babysitting, the telephone extraction, the Google search at 2:27 in the morning, all of these,
Shelley, hi.
any one of these would be enough to dismiss the charges as they sit here today. But the cumulative effect of this deception and all of it, this distortion in front of the grand jury, is too much for the court to ignore. The simple fact, Your Honor, is the presentation by the Commonwealth before the grand jury and the state court action, it just wasn't fair. That's the easiest way to say it. It just didn't give Ms. Reed a fair shot. It just didn't. That presentation was packed with lies, known lies by the investigators, and the omissions and the manipulations and deceit by the very people that are supposed to be the ones that we in the community can trust. The ones that are supposed to protect our interests. And the law does not allow this sort of conduct to go unchecked. When the remedy, when this sort of travesty of justice occurs, is established by this state's Supreme Judicial Court, and that is dismissal of the indictment in its entirety. And it is not enough, and I'll be surprised if I don't hear it today, but something suggests, based on the moving papers that we just got from Ms. McLaughlin and Mr. Lally, are, well, Your Honor, we didn't know. We didn't know about the text messages. We didn't know about Proctor. We didn't know about Lank. All that stuff was revealed through the federal grand jury. It doesn't matter that Ms. McLaughlin individually didn't know, or Mr. Lally can say, I claim ignorance, I didn't know either. It's enough that an arm of their institution, law enforcement, they knew. And that was their job to tell the truth. That was their job not to fool or distort the Commonwealth. I'm sorry, the grand jurors. With that, Your Honor, thank you for the time, and I'll submit.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lally, we're going to start with 10 minutes. If you need more, you need to tell me.
Sure.
And thank you, Your Honor. No, I think 10 minutes should be fine. I know the court has taken painstaking detail to go through all the material that's submitted, so I'll be as brief as I can. Essentially, the defendant, as the court is aware, doesn't challenge the grand jury presentation under McCarthy grounds or probable cause standard. Defendant motions challenges under Odell. Odell essentially states dismissal of an indictment on impairment of the grand jury proceedings requires proof of three elements, as the court is well aware. One, that the Commonwealth knowingly or recklessly presented false or deceptive evidence to the grand jury. Secondly, that the evidence was presented for the purpose of obtaining an indictment. And three, that the evidence probably influenced the grand jury's decision to indict. None of which I would submit the defendant has met their burden with reference to any of those three elements. Just addressing sort of the overarching themes of the defendant's motion. The defendant challenges, as he just stated, the testimony of Canton Police Sergeant Lank and his testimony attributing statements to the defendant that were made in the aftermath of Mr. O'Keefe's body being discovered in a purported deception of Sergeant Lank's relationship with the Albert family. Trooper Proctor's purported false and deceptive statements throughout the course of his testimony, and Commonwealth's failure to elicit a purported inconsistent statement of Christopher Albert, and the Commonwealth's failure to impeach Julie Albert's testimony.
Welcome to Shorty World.
Your Honor, simply put, none of these issues or stated malfeasance actually occurred before this grand jury. As it relates to Sergeant Lank, I mean, we're talking about what the defendant submits as an attachment is an incident from almost 20 years ago, which doesn't involve anyone who was at the house at 34 Fairview Road on the night when Mr. O'Keefe died. The statements that Sergeant Lank is attributing to the defendant were not only testified to by Sergeant Lank, and they're testified not in a deceptive manner. They're testified to by Sergeant Lank in the sense of he indicated he spoke to officers who had preceded his arrival. All of those officers also testified before the grand jury. All of those members who received statements from the defendant essentially indicating that she did it. That doesn't just come from one source. That comes from at least 5 different witnesses, 3 of them paramedics with the Cannone Fire Department. Counsel posits the question of why didn't Brian Albert come out of the house? No one did. Not only out of that house, but any house. It's clearly visible in the grand jury exhibits. You have the cruiser camera footage from Officer Saraf, as far as no one else in the neighborhood coming out of the house, as well as testimony from a number of different witnesses that were there and present on that morning in the dark, in a blizzard at the time that Mr. O'Keefe is found. Counsel wants to say that the Commonwealth is asking the court or everybody to sort of look the other way when it comes to these things. What I would submit is that's exactly what the defendant is doing. Look the other way, defense by obfuscation. It's essentially, it's a 3-card money trick, card trick on the.
Yes, Lally, that you guys play. Obfuscation is one of my favorite words to say. Can't say it today, but it is.
Corner on the side. Look at all of this. Look at this relationship. Look at that relationship. Conflating these relationships, sort of the distortion that I would say between what exists in social media realm and what exists in reality. That if you know someone, that automatically means that you're best friends with them, every single one of their siblings, every single person that they've ever met or socialized with. One social interaction, transforms into a long-standing 20-year relationship. All of those things. What the defense is obfuscating from is the overwhelming evidence that was presented to this grand jury from a multitude of sources, 42 separate witnesses, 56 exhibits, over 1,400 pages of transcripts, which clearly demonstrate and indicate that the defendant, Karen Reed, killed John O'Keefe. But they don't want you to look at that. They want you to look at who texted who when and what they said and what was asked and what was promised. In reviewing the materials provided by the U.S. Attorney's Office, a couple things that I would note is, number one, they have no idea how much of a percentage of the totality of the federal materials we have. I don't know if we have 5%, 50%, 90%. I have no idea. The other part that's confounding is that it appears that these materials from the state prosecution were provided to the U.S. Attorney's Office by Mr. Yannetti or by the defendant or by defense counsel. And again, what I don't know is how much of a percentage of the total discovery from the state case was actually given and provided to the U.S. Attorney's Office in which to conduct their investigation. But it's clear from the investigation that they extensively investigated the facts and circumstances that led to Mr. O'Keefe's death. In sum, what I would submit, just as Mr. McLaughlin stated on the last date, these materials are largely consistent with the Commonwealth's theory of the case. There was no suggestion of a third-party culprit, no suggestion of cover-up of evidence, no suggestion from the 13 civilians' witnesses' testimony that we've received, or transcripts of that testimony. All of them confirmed that Mr. O'Keefe never entered 34 Fairview Road. All of it was absolutely no animosity between the individuals at the Waterfall Bar or at 34 Fairview.
Excuse me, Lally. Have you seen the Waterfall Bar video?
You are unmuted.
Oh, I'm not muted though, Taryn. Did you just play that? You're so clever. Taryn, I love you. You motherfucker. So much better than having a pedo pirate backstage. That's for fucking sure. Thank you, Taryn. I love you.
Your residence. There was no fight. There was no dog attack. There was no eyewitness to the circumstances that led to Mr. O'Keefe's death. Witnesses also testified consistently a year later. They testified in the state grand jury in the spring of 2022, largely in the spring of 2022, and then largely in the spring of 2023 before the federal grand jury. And their testimonies are largely consistent with the defendants making declarative statements that she did it, not a question mark at the end, but clear definitive statements on scene that she had discussed the damage to her taillight prior to leaving Mr. O'Keefe's home on the morning of January 29th.
Scared the fuck out of me, Taryn.
You have a number of different statements that were alluded to by Mr. Jackson in regard to text from Trooper Proctor's phone. Of note, there are no text messages between Trooper Proctor's phone and Julie Albert's phone, except for two no-content text messages, one from June 21st, 2020, and one from September 1st of 2020. There is a discussion between Trooper Proctor and his sister because Julie Albert had provided childcare in a pinch on several occasions for Trooper Proctor's sister. Trooper Proctor also testified that Julie Albert never did that for him, never watched his kids, never had looked after his children. That essentially never happened. Lastly, get to the...
So Lally's basically like straight up, we know now, like straight up lying to the court and lying to the people because we've seen the trial. We've seen the testimony. He just said Julie Albert never babysat for the children. Oh, my blood pressure just went up, I think, a little bit, even more than it already was.
The Google search, and I would agree with counsel in the sense that it's really no longer open for debate, but I'm not really sure why we're still even talking about this or why this is still a topic that they're pushing. Essentially, what we have is, yes, what counsel mentions is there is one expert who was given two extractions, presumably provided by defense counsel, that indicates from that particular FBI expert that the searches were done at 2-something in the morning. What counsel neglects to sort of raise and stress with the court is that there's a separate, and I forget exactly what it stands for, but an RCFL analysis of the phone in which through both Axiom and through Celebrite.
So this one is after the 26th of February. Wait, let me just go into the, wait, I'll exit out of full screen. Should say the date, shouldn't it? Here. Oh, fucking court TV. Jesus Christ. Jesus fuck. 13th of March. 13th of March, 2024. This one. Thank you for asking that.
And the conclusion of that expert is that the searches occurred when Ms. McCabe testified they occurred because the defendant asked her to conduct those searches at 6:23 and 6:24 in the morning. Really, the argument stops at the point of it's not, we didn't do our job to get the Cellbrite version that shows that information did not exist at the time of the grand jury. So I'm not really sure how the Commonwealth is supposed to run something through a Cellbrite.
One's in the chat if you say Celebrite. Two's in the chat if you say Cellbrite. One's Celebrite. Two's Cellbrite. I say Celebrite. Chat, what say you?
Right version that isn't in existence at the time the grand jury is conducted. It's a subsequent version in which their expert, Mr. Green, finds these purported search without looking at the cache files, without looking at the DB list, without looking at the SQLite database, without looking at the wall file, all of which was done not only by Trooper Garino, an independent expert named Jessica Hyde, which counsel has all of that, as well as the senior technical analyst from Cellbite itself, a man named Mr. Whiffen. Counsel's had this report for months at this point. And essentially,
Celebrite
is essentially the person who creates the software that all of these experts are using. And his definitive opinion indicated in his report is that Ms. McCabe conducted those searches at 6:23 and 6:24 in the morning. So I would agree with counsel that it's really no longer up for debate. I think we just disagree as to the conclusions of that. But based on the totality of the evidence and what I would submit as the overwhelming evidence that was presented to this grand jury, all of these sort of individual
that's a good one,
parsing of stated malfeasance simply doesn't even come close to sustaining the burden under Odell. And for that reason, I would ask that the court deny the motion to dismiss.
Okay. Do you want a few minutes, Mr. Jackson, to respond?
Yes.
Very briefly.
Okay.
Very briefly.
First of all,
take your time, Mrs. Jackson. Take your time, sir.
It's always interesting to hear an argument that suggests there's nothing to see here. And that's exactly what Mr. Lally did yet again. He said, look the other way, look the other way. Oh, it's the defense that wants you to look the other way. We don't want you to look the other way.
It's laughable.
We want you to look directly at the evidence of the compromised relationships that Trooper Proctor had and hid. That's what we want the court to look at. He suggests, oh, well, there's just a couple of text messages. It's no big deal. The fact is, Your Honor, she really hit him. She really hit him with the car. Let's remember, she really hit him. And these text messages, they mean nothing. We're talking about the integrity of a sitting grand jury and the
Hi,
presentation
Ivana, good to
before
see
that
you.
grand jury. What Mr. Lally
Leona.
now has in his possession, but he didn't mention, now that he says,
Sorry, Alan. Mr. Jackson, sir. Sorry, Leona. My brain saw Ivana, and then by the time I'd looked over there and said Ivana, I realized it was Leona. Hi, good to see you. My bad.
oh, well, she killed him. Let's just get on with it. She killed him. He's already tried
Lally
to convict
says
her
Selbright.
in his mind and tried to do it in this courtroom. Doesn't quite work that.
Nick Lally says Selbright. Lally, no surprise there. He can't even put he said Selbright. Celebrite is what I say. Celebrite.
That way. Now Mr. Lally has in his possession another thing from the feds that we didn't have access to. The federal investigators hired, independent of us, we had no idea, and independent of the Commonwealth, hired a professional reconstructionist, 3 PhDs, to look into exactly this issue. Did Karen Reed's car, did her SUV make contact with John O'Keefe? And their conclusion to a person was his injuries were inconsistent with the damage on the car. The damage on the car was inconsistent with having made contact with John O'Keefe's body. In other words, the car didn't hit him and he wasn't hit by the car. Period. Full stop. That's their independent expert.
We're watching it again.
Not somebody on our payroll.
Thanks for
like
coming, Mr.
Whiffen,
Jackson.
with John O'Keefe. And their conclusion to a person was his injuries were inconsistent with the damage on the car. The damage on the car was inconsistent with having made contact with John O'Keefe's body. In other words, the car didn't hit him and he wasn't hit by the car. Period. Full stop. That's their independent expert, not ours, not somebody on our payroll like Mr. Whiffen or one of their experts or Trooper Guarino, who's an arm of the agency. This is an independent federal government witness or series of witnesses who say unequivocally that car did not hit John O'Keefe and John O'Keefe was not hit by that car. But he didn't mention that. Second, he argued that the texts were not, these aren't texts between Julie Albert and Michael Proctor. These are texts between his family members. And then he mentions these 2 texts that had no content. What are the chances that Michael Proctor sent Julie Albert texts with no content? Your Honor, it's not that they didn't have content, it's that it couldn't be recovered, which sometimes happens. But we do have evidence that they were in fact in communication with each other as early as 2020. And with regard to the 2:27 a.m. search, it's not a 3-card Monty. It's not a shell game or whatever other fanciful thing Mr. Lally wants to suggest that it is, as he tap dances his way around this. He says that our expert, Rick Green, didn't look at the SQLite database. Yeah, Mr. Lally, reread his report. Yes, he did. He didn't look at the wall file. Yeah, Mr. Lally, reread his report. Yes, he in fact did. And he's the one that found the 2:27 a.m. search. And with regard to the Regional Computer Forensics Lab, that's the definition he couldn't remember. What they actually said was, because Mr. Lally got this wrong too, what they actually said was, yes, there was a 6:23 and a 6:24 search. And there was a 2:27 a.m. search as well.
Love you,
All
Dave.
3 of those searches existed in the phone, Jennifer McCabe's phone, and it's not up for debate. That wasn't presented to the grand jury. The information that we've been talking about today wasn't presented to the grand jury. We're talking about the integrity of a proceeding. He doesn't get to convict my client by standing up here and pounding the table and saying, oh, she did it, she hit him. So let's just all get on with it. Deny.
Kevin, that's not possible. I have a T-shirt. So Kevin says, like mic drop. Is this new information? Who says? Who says? Kevin, I trust you. This is concerning. Jessica Hyde is the Commonwealth expert. Oh, I see. Sorry, I should read first, then speak. Who stated this 2:27 a.m. search may not have happened at that time. A new 4-page report from her has been handed over by the Commonwealth to the defence. Okay, so maybe she saw Auntie Deb parodying her, and she thought, oh, yikes.
Deny this motion. We're talking about the integrity of what is the foundation of Massachusetts judicial system. And that integrity was compromised, that integrity was impaired. And it demands that justice be done. And that justice is in the hands of this court. We ask this court to do what the evidence dictates, do what the law dictates, and that is dismiss this indictment. That is the...
Look at Karen's face. Says it all. She's like looking at Bev going, Interesting.
only way justice will be found in this case. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Giannetti, are you all set?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
So
We're all set.
The same time, and let's see how you do with it.
You're such a good friend, Dave.
We believe our witnesses. They are telling the truth. Karen Reed is guilty. Any suggestion to the contrary is a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. Can you imagine a district attorney with a sworn duty to do justice and respect the presumption of innocence issuing such a statement in a pending case? Before August 25th of 2023, I could not. Yet that was the message of Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey to potential jurors in this case on that date. I've been practicing criminal law as both a prosecutor and a defense attorney for over 30 years
Georgia.
now. Never have I seen such unethical conduct from a prosecutor. I know of at least one law professor who used Mr. Morrissey's statement in his class to teach his law students how a prosecutor should not act. Another member of the bar has already reported Mr. Morrissey's conduct to the BBO. And now we are here with a motion to disqualify Mr. Morrissey from further prosecuting this case because he has a personal interest in the outcome. Your Honor, this court should grant our motion to disqualify. And at the outset, I note that we've also moved for sanctions, dismissal of these indictments as a result of his misconduct. But we have so many additional grounds for dismissal as a result of the material provided to both sides by the federal authorities that we will be filing a further motion to dismiss for extraordinary governmental misconduct. My co-counsel has spoken to that previously. To the extent that the court entertains our motion for sanctions, specifically dismissal as a result of his egregious...
Can I just interrupt there and ask you, are these going to be the same
Welcome, Go
motion,
Georgia. Thank you for
essentially?
becoming a member.
No. There's information and evidence that's been provided by the federal authorities which deals with the egregious conduct of both the district attorney and his investigators and the police. That will be the subject of a separate motion, Your Honor.
So I thought that was going to be your supplemental memo to this motion. It sounds like it's the same issue, Mr.
No,
Benetti.
it's not. And what I'm saying to the court is I have limited time.
When I interrupt you, I stop the time.
Well, I appreciate that, but even with that, Your Honor, the focus of my argument is going to be on the disqualification as opposed to the dismissal. I've submitted papers on the dismissal. I will rest on those papers with regard to that issue. That's my only point.
All right. So when you file the other motion, I need you to include in your memo how that's different specifically from this.
Understood.
Not just the remedy, but how the basis of
Understood.
it is different.
Understood.
All right. So I'm going to start you again from scratch. Go right ahead.
I appreciate it. Well, Your Honor, this case admittedly has been an unusual one for a district attorney to deal with. The district attorney's office is not accustomed to a criminal defendant fighting back in the way we have prior to trial. What usually happens when the prosecution brings charges is they detail the allegations at an arraignment in court, and as a result, their narrative and theory of the case becomes widely reported, while the defendant and the defense team remain relatively quiet. After arraignment, moreover, the media typically lose interest and wait until a trial or potential resolution of the case before they start reporting on the case again. And in this way, the district attorney's office is quite accustomed to always controlling the narrative in pending cases, at least until the defense makes an opening statement at trial. And as long as the prosecution gets to control the narrative in the press, they have no problem with what's being reported. But of course, this case has been different. Their control of the narrative did not last very long here. In our view, it became clear very early on in this case that their narrative was wrong. Their theory of the case was wrong. Their allegations did not fit with the evidence that we fought so hard and for so long to get access to over 2 long years. So along the way, we spoke out about our findings of exculpatory evidence, mostly within this courtroom, but occasionally outside. The DA was not used to that and apparently didn't like it because they initially sought the extraordinary remedy from this court of trying to gag the defense from exercising our First Amendment rights to discuss a client who at all times is presumed to be innocent. And as you know, they filed that motion on June 9th of 2023.
My ear holes are getting sick of earbuds in them all day, every day. Kim says, I think I missed the first comment, but basically Kim is talking about some findings that Grace from Dream Feed Media, amazing channel, amazing woman. If you are not already, go and subscribe to Grace and binge the ever-loving bejesus out of her content. She has done some incredible deep dives, down some rabbit holes, investigations, experiments, and drawn some really compelling conclusions, including the same time that John's phone stopped moving, Brian Higgins took John's phone and placed it on the front lawn, allegedly, but I think it works with all of the calculations that Grace did, making a beeline to his Jeep parked at the Kelleher's driveway. And that's why, anyway, it's a whole thing. Go and watch her content. Like, seriously. Dream Feed Media, do yourself a favor. She's the next big up and comer of content creators on YouTube, I guarantee you.
And it didn't work. The court denied the motion, specifically ruling that any statements attributed to counsel could generally be characterized as responses to the accusations against Ms. Reed and are therefore permitted under the rules. When you made that ruling, though, Your Honor, you admonished both sides that commenting on the credibility of witnesses would have a prejudicial effect on the proceeding. And at that point, we largely stopped making extrajudicial statements. By contrast,
Lucky Loughran,
Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey, only 25 days after that court's ruling, instead decided to blatantly ignore this court's admonishment. DA Morrissey went off the rails, gave an unprecedented video statement to the media where he specifically vouched for the credibility of Commonwealth witnesses.
Interesting, the hostage video. Amber, thank you so much for gifting out 1 Shorty membership. You don't have to do that, gorgeous, but thank you. Welcome, new Shorty.
In violation of the rules of professional responsibility, in violation of this court's order. A member of the public issued a public records request, and we got this to show all of the media outlets that DA Morrissey made sure received his statement. Before any trial has occurred, he called the defense theory in this case, quote, a false narrative. Before any trial has occurred, he announced his opinion that nobody within the home at 34 Fairview participated in any murder or any cover-up. Before any trial, he vouched for the credibility of Commonwealth witnesses Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian Albert. He announced that those witnesses were forthcoming. In other words, truthful. Before any trial has occurred, DA Morrissey announced that the defense theory is, quote, a desperate attempt to reassign guilt, end quote. Given those broad statements of Mr. Morrissey's opinion that Karen Reed is guilty, can you believe that the DA in their opposition to this motion had the audacity to claim that DA Morrissey's words were narrowly tailored to the harassment of witnesses? It goes without saying, but your words are not narrowly tailored if you're a prosecutor vouching for the credibility of witnesses, particularly after a judge told you not to do that. Your words are not narrowly tailored if you're announcing to the public that you've already assigned guilt to a criminal defendant before trial.
Amen.
A desperate attempt to reassign guilt.
He's furious.
DA Morrissey announced to every potential juror in Norfolk County not that someone charged with a crime is innocent until proven guilty. The words innocent until proven guilty never came out of his mouth. Instead, he announced his office had already assigned guilt to Karen Reed. So in his view, when she fought back by reasserting her right to be presumed innocent, he deemed that a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. Never in over 30 years of practice have I ever witnessed an elected DA so blatantly violate the rules of professional responsibility. Never have I witnessed an elected DA trample on the constitutional rights of a criminal defendant who enjoys the presumption of innocence. And I do have some perspective in this area. I had the privilege of spending the first 10 years of my career as an assistant district attorney in Middlesex County. I had the privilege of working with and for some of the finest DAs this Commonwealth has ever seen, from Scott Harshbarger to my mentor, Tom Riley, to Martha Coakley, Jerry Leone, Marion Ryan. In addition, I worked with some of the finest Massachusetts state troopers acting as homicide investigators, men and women I respect for their integrity and prowess as ethical investigators. In a million years, I could not imagine any of my former colleagues and bosses making such a statement. They were professionals with ethics and a humble respect for the awesome power they possessed as public prosecutors.
I was going to say something and then I forgot. Oh, I was just going to say sidebar, very exciting. I'm getting a little bit smooth with my typing. I'm no longer doing this anymore. I'm kind of like proper typing. So maybe my level of professionalism is going to increase. But back to it. Sorry, Mr. Iannetti. Apologies. May it please the court.
So for those reasons, in some ways, it pains me to have to file a motion like this. But DA Morrissey, through his poor and unethical decision-making, to release a video statement designed to prejudice potential jurors against my client, has forced my hand. So the question then becomes, why did he do this? Why did he take such a personal interest in this case, such that he would take the unprecedented, and that's his word, unprecedented step of vouching for Commonwealth witnesses? Why would he take the unprecedented step of denigrating the defense theory to potential jurors? The unprecedented step of announcing to the public that Karen Reed is guilty? Why would he trample over the presumption of innocence and announce that we're trying to reassign the guilt that he's already assigned to her? Well, on December 4th of 2023, we began to learn why. That was when the DA released to us correspondence he had with the U.S. Attorney's Office, which dated back to May of 2023. That correspondence revealed that federal authorities were investigating this case. And it's worth noting, they only released those to us once Fox 25 had succeeded in a public records request, and they knew what they had kept hidden was going to be revealed. And once we got those letters, we learned why they wanted them hidden. We learned that in May of 2023, the DA's office knew there was a federal investigation. They did not reveal that knowledge to the defense. In fact, on June 12th of 2023, the acting U.S. attorney specifically told the DA's office they could reveal the existence of this federal investigation to us, but they didn't. They kept it secret. And then worse, Your Honor, on December 4th of 2023, the district attorney's office provided a false notice of discovery to this court and to the defense. In that notice of discovery, they claimed they had received no confirmation that any witnesses had testified before a federal grand jury. We now know that was a lie. We know it's a lie because
I know we're all appreciating Yannetti right now in all of his splendiferous glory. Just think about Lally's ma, and then the showmanship, but like the spectacular dramatics that Yannetti uses his voice and his punctuation and his cadence to drive home his points. It's masterful. He is masterful. And Amanda, welcome. Thank you for becoming a little shorty or a big shorty. Yay.
Because 7 months earlier, DA Morrissey wrote that multiple state witnesses had received subpoenas. We know that was a lie because now that we've got the information from the feds, Nicole Albert testified before a federal grand jury that she participated in a group conference call with Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert, ADA Lally, and victim witness advocate Stephen Nelson, a group conference call before she testified before the federal grand jury in July of 2023.
Hi, Eva's mom. Good to see
We
you.
also know it was a lie because he wrote in his letter, and I quote, "We have confirmed that witnesses testified before the federal grand jury." Yet 7 months later, the DA's office tells this court that it had received no confirmation. That is outrageous.
Woo!
We are outraged that he lied to us. This court should be outraged that DA Morrissey lied to you. In a prior hearing in this case, I argued to this.
Oh my God, I got chills. Chat, I have to stop for a moment. We'll go back. I just got chills. That was so good. We are outraged. We are outraged. Oh, so good, Misty and Eddie. Oh, sir. Oh, so good. Wow. Sorry, just having a moment here.
Wrote in his letter, and I quote, "We have confirmed that witnesses testified before the federal grand jury." Yet 7 months later, the DA's office tells this court that it had received no confirmation. That is outrageous. We are outraged that he lied to us. This court should be outraged that DA Morrissey lied to you. In a prior hearing in this case, I argued to this court that the letters back and forth confirmed.
A wonderful narrator. Yes, he's amazing, phenomenal. And wait, Robin G, thank you so much. Welcome to New Shorties. The support of our channel and building our community, it means so much to all of us. Like, this is our channel and our community. So thank you so much for spreading the Wait, I was muted when that was playing. Spreading the green love around. Thank you so much, Robin. Love ya.
That DA Morrissey believed that he personally and his office in general was being targeted by the U.S. Attorney's Office. I chose my words carefully. I never said he received a target letter. The existence of a target letter is irrelevant. The inquiry is, what does the DA know and believe? And he revealed in those letters what he knew and believed. He revealed that he believed that U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins had a personal animus against him. He wrote, quote, "She's made no secret of her personal animosity towards me." He also wrote that the head of the public corruption unit at the U.S. Attorney's Office may be personally retaliating against him and targeting him because his wife was unhappy with the way the Norfolk DA treated her. He wrote, in short, that he knew, felt, and believed that he and his office were being targeted. Now, why is that important? It's important because of the immense power that a prosecutor has. It is important because we need an unbiased prosecutor with no vested interest in a case to try to administer justice based on the evidence and not based on any personal interest in a case. It is important because, in the words of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Robert H. Jackson, quote, "We must have assurance that those who wield this power will be guided solely by public responsibility."
So I just want to tell you, you've gone over your time. I see your reading, so you have some idea on how much longer you have. How much longer do you have with that?
For about 3 minutes, Judge.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Indeed, Your Honor, Justice Jackson practically spoke to DA Morrissey from the grave. The prosecutor has more control over life, liberty, and reputation than any other person in America. His discretion is tremendous. He can have citizens investigated, and if he is that kind of person, he can have this done to the tune of public statements and veiled or unveiled intimations. Or the prosecutor may choose a more subtle course and simply have citizens' friends interviewed. Prosecutor can order arrests, present cases to a grand jury in a secret session, and on the basis of his one-sided presentation of facts can cause the citizen to be indicted and held for trial. Well, while the prosecutor at his best is one of the most beneficial forces in our society, when he acts with malice or other base motives, he's one of the worst. In his own words, DA Morrissey revealed he has an interest in this case that goes beyond the interests of justice. He revealed that he knew that his office was being unfairly targeted and investigated. And it doesn't matter if his belief or knowledge was right or wrong. It's only important that he believes it. And this means he has a personal interest in getting Karen Reed convicted. if he can use whatever means he has at his disposal to convict her, and he succeeds, that would vindicate him and harm the federal investigation of his office. On the other hand, if she's found not guilty, as we expect she will be, he knows that he and his office will remain in the crosshairs of the federal investigation. And it's important to note, Your Honor, both sides have been made aware multiple times that as we have this hearing today, that federal investigation is still open. They've called most of the Commonwealth's witnesses to testify, but they're not done. DA Morrissey has an interest in this case not to do justice, but to win. That's why he hid his knowledge of the federal investigation for 7 months. That's why he slow-walked discovery. That's why he gave a lengthy video statement saying Karen Reed is guilty. That's why he talked about our theory being a desperate attempt to reassign guilt. And perhaps that's why, in contravention of Judge Krupp's preservation order, DA Morrissey's office gave the go-ahead to Brian Albert and Brian Higgins to destroy or dispose of their phones. We only learned that because the federal authorities revealed that in their investigation. And I'm just about ready to end. The DA also, as my colleague has indicated, I'm sorry, the FBI has confirmed that Jennifer McCabe Googled how long to die in the cold at 2:27 in the morning. But what has not yet been mentioned is that 5 minutes before that, Brian Higgins and Brian Albert were calling each other at 2:22 in the morning on January 29th after previously testifying they were both asleep at that time. There was a lot of suspicious activity in the early morning hours of January involving the witnesses that Morrissey improperly announced to the public were telling the truth. We're getting to the bottom of it, and the truth will come out. But as we continue to defend her, Your Honor, like any criminal defendant, my client deserves a neutral, impartial prosecutor interested solely in justice with no vested outcome in this case. And it's crystal clear we do not have that in Michael Morrissey. That is why he should be disqualified from this case. And that is why I urge you to do just that in the interest of impartial justice.
All right. Thank you very much. Who's arguing this? You, Mr. Lally? All right, so let's start with
God,
Ken.
Lally.
We need more.
Jesus, Lally. Let me check. I don't know if we can do Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. And again, I don't think I'm going to need much more than that. Again, I know the court has reviewed all the materials, and I know the court is well aware of their standard, and it's a standard.
We're not watching Lally. I can't.
And believed similarly with
Rebuttal, I guess, or a short comment.
We can't do any more Lally. We just can't.
I would just add, Your Honor, that the focus of Mr. Lally's argument was on everything except for Mr. Morrissey's conduct. Just like it doesn't matter if Mr. Morrissey and his office are actually...
Ava's mom, Grace from Dream Feed Media, has done some amazing calculations with steps and dimensions of the yard and the house at 34 Fairview and step counters and all the things. And I mean, we can't know for sure, but it's pretty clear from all of that that her findings are that probably what was Brian Higgins had parked over in the Kelleher's driveway so as not to park on the road. That's why his Jeep wasn't actually where they said it was at trial. And that within, I think it was like 2 minutes of John's phone registering those ascending and descending steps, which actually also Grace debunks as probably being him beaten, falling to the floor, being dragged up or standing himself up and down again 6 times based on his height and the amount of steps that were clocked ascending, and that then Higgins took John's phone with him when they found it, and then took it out and popped it on the grass on the lawn, the early dusting of snow, and then went straight to his Jeep and drove whatever he did drove around until 1:30 till he actually got to the Canton PD. So, but all the hive mind stuff is very helpful. But if you haven't watched and listened to any of Grace from Dream Feed Media's stuff, it's so compelling. She's very good.
Actually, targets of an investigation. It's only what he knew and believed. Similarly, with regard to his conduct in keeping secret the existence of a federal investigation. It doesn't matter whether we knew about it or not. It's the fact that Morrissey knew, kept it secret for 7 months, and didn't reveal it to the defense until the media got access to those letters. And with that, I would rest.
Okay. Thank you. So I do have a question. Did you file the Rule 17 motions already, or do you expect to file them later today?
We will be filing them by the close of business today.
Okay, and they're pretty much outlined in your previous motion, what you needed to file, or are there additional ones in your
I
motion?
believe
with the
they're
continuance?
outlined. Yeah, they're outlined, Judge.
Okay, I asked because Mr. Roach told me that on the March 20th date, the council wants it to be via Zoom. I'd prefer it not be, because with Rule 17, as you know, the record holders come into court and object. So I don't want you all to be on the screen. And Ms. Giannetti, certainly your local counsel. Mr. Jackson, if you want to be on the screen, you can. But I need somebody here.
I understood you, Ron. That's fine.
Okay?
That's fine.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. If I may just.
Yes.
You are unmuted.
I love that, Taryn. Why was it muted? Can you please set up a portal? You're the best helper ever. I love you so much. You can actually be my production assistant, and we will get merch. Can you please set up a portal to my ear? I'm like, a portal to Turtle Boy stream, because this is almost done, and everyone can teleport over there. A redirect. Thanks, Taryn. I think it's already set up, actually.
In person and have my client join?
No,
me?
she has to be here.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right. Was there something else? Yes.
I would ask, may we approach just as the scheduling issues?
Okay.
Taryn can portal. Yes. Best mods. Hands down, Patricia. Best mods. Bit of mod love in the chat, right? I think we're done. Let me just check. She's backstage just blinding my earballs out. Wouldn't it be good to have a mute button for Lals? Taryn is a fucking professional, Debbie. Hooray for Taryn. She's way better than that last shady fucking pedo pirate I had sitting back there being a creep. Love the mods. Best mods. Hooray for Taryn. Best mods. I think they're done. Karen Reid is innocent. Amen. Hang on. We're calling it done, chat. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my God. Thank God. That was in my earballs. Very loud. Hey, we made it. Just in time. Aiden's only just started. We'll do more. It would be a blessing to mute Lally, right? Bosh. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for being here. Boss Shorty. Mods. Shorties. Yes. Char is Bay and Chat is Bay. One of the best lives I've visited in a while. Kudos. Well, Miss Noma, thank you so much. I've been told recently that I'm an irresponsible creator. I'm yet to get some examples of how. So anyway, we'll see. Amazing mods. An amazing time with you all again tonight. Yes, we'll be going again tomorrow night. Haven't even scheduled anything yet. I've got so much. I think I'm going to do a why women bully and what that looks like. So that should be fun. But we never know. We might do a depth v herd. Who knows? We've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 more nights of 16 nights of Shorty. Where is that threshold? Anyone? Mods are awesome. Love you, fucking delight. No, love all of you. Thank you so much for the super chat, super stickers, gifted memberships, new members. Welcome. What a beautiful community we have. Thank you for making it so wonderful. It's because of you. You all. I'm going to hit the end. I'm not the best, but I'm up there. Don't listen to the shade being thrown either. Love you. Notifications are on. Taryn can now tell me I'm muted as soon as it happens. Set your notifications, folks. Love this community. Yeah, man. Gotcha. And actually, I have a feeling I know, just for the record, I have a feeling I now know who a couple of my really insistent friends are on the Twitter. And let's just say we see you. So there's that. Love ya, love ya. We're going. End of the chat. Okay. We're closing out. Mwah. Love your faces. I'm going to go and buy a vape. Jesus, fuck, chat. I'll probably buy 2. Love ya.
It's on that Shorty New Year. Shorty New Year. Come along to Camp Shorty. We're so glad you're here. Camp Shorty is where you will find family. Our mod Avengers will greet you with glee. At Camp Shorty, you can shine and shine bright, because Shorty Camp Leader is a fucking delight.